Okay, calling to order the Joint Committee on Ways and Means and Government Operations. So this morning we're going to hear from the Department of Accounting and General Services, who will present their supplemental budget requests. Good morning.
Good morning, aloha, Chair. Good morning, Chair McKelvey as well, and members of WAM. Appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you today. My name is Keith Regan. I'm the Director of the Department of Accounting and General Services, as well as the Comptroller for the state of Hawaii. I just want to first and foremost thank you for this opportunity to be in front of all of you today. Wish you a very happy new year, and we look forward to working very closely with this committee as we go forward in the budgeting process for the supplemental year. Today, I'd like to just introduce some of our team that's here with us today. I will note that you'll see that our Deputy Comptroller is not with us. It's not because she doesn't want to be here with us. It's because we are in the middle of our demonstrations for our Enterprise Financial Systems Upgrade project, and she's participating in those demos today. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here with us, but I really appreciate all of her hard work. I want to introduce some of the team that's here with us today. Representing our accounting division, we have Audit Branch Chief Alan Visitacion. Representing our audit division, we have Administrator Ron Shigi. Representing our Office of Information Practices, we have Director Carlotta Amarino. Bless you, by the way. We have from AGS 111, which is Archives, we have Dr. Adam Jansen. From the Office of Enterprise Technology Services, we have Chief Information Officer Christine Sakuda. From Risk Management, we have our Risk Management Officer, Tracy Kitaoka. From our Land Survey Division, we have Administrator Reed Surratt. From our Public Works Division, we have Administrator Gordon Wood. From our Central Services Division, we have Administrator James Jimmy Kurata. And from our State Procurement Office, we have Chief Procurement Officer Bonnie Kahakui. From our Automotive Management Division, we have Administrative Services Assistant Sima Sui Galo. And from our Neighbor Island District offices, representing all four offices, is our Kauai District Office Administrator and Engineering Program Manager Eric Agena. Representing the Campaign Spending Commission is General Counsel Christy Chang. Representing the Office of Elections is Chief Elections Officer Scott Nago. Representing the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts is Executive Director Karen Ewald. From the King Kamehameha Celebration Committee is Executive Director Amy Hammond. From our 911 Board is Executive Director Royce Murakami. And from our Hawaii Broadband Office is Executive Director Chung Chang. Also joining us from the Comptroller's Office, we have our Administrative Services Office staff, our Business Management Officer Miyoki Ng, as well as our Management Analyst Andrew Choi and other staff joining us as well. We have our Personnel Office representative, our Human Resource Officer Daylene Liu, and from our Systems and Procedure, which is our DAGS IT office, we have Anna Louie. Chair and members, before you see this team here, it's a team that I'm immensely proud of, all the hard work that they do day in and day out to help lead us in our mission to support other departments as a central support agency. So I just want to mahalo them. And most importantly, I also want to mahalo all of you for your trust and support in DAGS and the work that we're doing year after year. So thank you for that. Chair, I just would like to, if you don't mind, go into a few accomplishments, if that's okay. Yeah. That we've been able to achieve over the past year. Would that be acceptable? Yeah. Okay, I'll do it as quickly as possible. I know time is of the essence. Our accounting division, actually, again, for the 13th year in a row, was the recipient of the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in the Financial Reporting, which is part of the annual comprehensive financial report that the GFOA analyzes. That particular document is so critical to the state of Hawaii, and I want to congratulate the accounting division on making this and receiving this award. That document is used when we go out to sell bonds. So it's the audited financial statements for the state of Hawaii. So again, kudos to them. They spent about 6 months, believe it or not, just focusing in on that document. So great job from accounting. For our archives division, Adam and his team were able to implement and complete the radio frequency ID barcode project at the State Record Center down in Mapunapuna. If you're aware of that project, it was to essentially embed RFID and barcodes on all the boxes that we're storing there. And this project is actually helping to save hundreds of hours of manpower that would otherwise be used to have to go find and hunt down these boxes. And so this project has been extremely helpful and beneficial to state archives and will be rolled out here in our main archives building, which is right across from the Capitol this year as well, so that it'll make it that much more efficient for them to be able to find documents when they're being requested. Our audit division actually was working hard not only on their typical work, but they also took on the Inflation Reduction Act energy credit program, where they put together a training program and then as well as worked hand in hand with departments to find ways that we could claw back and successfully take advantage of the IRA's energy tax credits. We held numerous meetings, we held numerous workshops, and we're actually able to, through that program, claw back $400,000 in energy tax credits for the University of Hawaii. And then also, we opened it up to the various counties since, we wanted to try to be of assistance to them too. And only the city and county took advantage of it, and they were able to claw back 90 grand. So this program, what's very interesting about it is we used ARPA money. So we didn't use general fund monies. We had federal monies that were available to be able to fund it. And, the money that we spent was about 130,000, and we're able to claw back almost 500,000 in energy tax credits. So pretty good return on investment there. Our automotive management division over the last year, we're able to install 48 level 2 chargers in our various parking garages and lots throughout the state of Hawaii. We now have 68 total EV charging stations with 195 more that are on the schedule. So this coming fiscal year, you'll see a lot of work towards rolling out those 195 more EV charging stations. We were able to convert 3 parking facilities from those traditional coin-based meters that oftentimes are problematic and just extremely cumbersome to go and have to collect those monies out of those coin-based meters into fully automated kiosks. So that helps to reduce the amount of time and makes things much more efficient in terms of being able to collect parking fees. Our central services division has been busy this past year. Through the support of all of you and particularly this committee, we established the cemeteries branch. Remember, we sat here and we were talking to you about that. That's been established, and we've just hired the administrator for that. So within that short period of 6 months since the fiscal year started, we're able to get it established, get the position created, and have that person hired. He starts on the 20th of this month. So we're excited about that. As you know, we've got 8 cemeteries across the entire state. And so thank you for your investment in that. I think it's going to pay dividends as we go forward to be able to protect those very sacred places. We also successfully began the AED project, the Automated External Defibrillator project, to install AEDs in our state facilities. DAGs, let me caveat that, DAGs managed facilities. So we bought about 110 of these units. They've been delivered not only to Oahu, but all the neighbor islands. So we will be installing those over the next couple of months. We hope to have all of those AEDs installed by our team within the next 4 to 6 months. So we're very excited about that project. That was also, we actually had ARPA monies that we were able to utilize. So federal monies to be able to use towards making that happen. And we know that that has been a topic that's come up time and time again. And so in addition to not only acquiring it, it also comes along with the training as well as the maintenance. So we're covered to make sure that those life-saving devices are going to be operational in our facilities, and people that work there, the occupants, will have the proper training on how to use it. In addition to that, we also acquired all the feminine hygiene product dispensers that are going to be installed in our restrooms throughout the state for all DAGs managed facilities. So all the neighbor islands have their inventory, they've received it, and now they're going to be installing it as well. So our teams there on the neighbor islands as well as central services will be working on that. I wanted to also just mention about the computer-based inventory management system that Jimmy and our DAGs IT guys at Systems and Procedures Office were able to put together. This computer-based inventory management system allows Jimmy and his team to be able to track and order supplies more efficiently. Instead of just sort of ordering it, not randomly, right? But maybe just sort of like on a regular basis, they're actually able to order it when they need it, when they anticipate it. So they won't just be putting in orders to put in orders. They're going to actually time it properly so that we're spending our money properly and not wasting it and keeping it in supplies, right, in a warehouse, and building up too much inventory there. So very excited about that effort. And then he's been doing a lot of many other things, including, and we can talk about it later, but ETS has been working extremely hard. They submitted to you the IT consolidation report, which I give Christine and her team credit for being able to pull that together and working with all of the departments and the IT staff throughout the entire state. You have that now, and hopefully that'll be part of discussions as we go forward on how we can streamline and make IT better for the entire state of Hawaii. In addition to that, she and their team at ETS launched the Citizen Identity Initiative and integrated with 96 portal services using My Hawaii for single sign-on. So that just makes that process much more efficient for our citizens as they're accessing the various websites that we have throughout the entire state of Hawaii. Our land survey division, sorry, I got a little bit caught up there, was very active in supporting Lahaina and the wildfire tragedy that occurred out there this past year. In fact, they've gone multiple times to Maui to go out there and survey properties, especially shoreline properties, to make sure that we can properly designate where the shoreline ends and where these private properties begin. That's very important from a permitting perspective, especially if you're along the shoreline. And so Reed and his team have been very active out there helping to support that activity. I want to just thank them for that. Public Works Division, as you know, Chair and members, are extremely busy. They've got 474 projects on their plate right now that they're working through with an approximate value of about $2 billion. We have projects that we're very excited about. In your neck of the woods, the Wahiawa Judiciary and Civic Center project is coming along nicely. We track that. I'm actually getting regular reports on that project. I've been out there multiple times, as you have. Our team is out there almost every other day on site, making sure that things are moving forward properly. We're about 77% complete, and we're on track to deliver the project by November 2026. And so it's an exciting project. It's going to be great for the people of Wahiawa as well as for the entire state of Hawaii. Very excited about that. And I also wanted to mention, I know it's come up before, is that the Kaneohe Civic Center project is actually starting construction. I believe it's today. So if you can let your colleague know from that area that we've actually started that project. The delay was more about permitting, unfortunately. And we've talked about permitting, in the past. But we were able to successfully get through it, and now we're starting that project. We've got other projects too that we've had discussions about that, are highly visible, and we can talk about that as they come up. Chair, those are the accomplishments. There's many more accomplishments, but I know that we're limited on time. So I really want to get to sort of the heart of why we're here today, and that is to talk about our supplemental budget requests. As you know, in Table 6, you can see that the requests that we have before you are relatively few. It seems like relatively large requests because some of them are. We've got the $211 million. Well, let me back up a little bit. The total request to you is for $217.2 million in requests in Table 6. $212.8 million of that is actually related to revolving fund ceiling increases. So this is not general fund monies that we're asking for. It is simply to have access to the funds that are in those revolving funds. More specifically, if we get into the details, the first item that's on that list is the $211 million ceiling increase that we're asking for in the risk management revolving fund. This is important. We are receiving insurance proceeds from the wildfire disaster. We've got about $125 million now sitting in that fund. We anticipate collecting the balance of the policy limit, which I think the policy limit is $200 million for property. And so we do anticipate we hope that we're going to get that $200 million. We're going to meet that $200 million limit. We do expect to have that happen. But in order for us to be able to use and access those funds, particularly for projects like the King Kamehameha III Elementary School project, we're going to need the ceiling increase to be able to have access to it. And so that's why we're here before you today to ask for it.
I have a question on that. So when you receive these funds, are you in charge of allocating those funds? How is that being done? What criteria are you using?
By statute, it is part of the comptroller's responsibility. But we really want to have that open discussion with this body about how those funds can be utilized.
So the account now, what is the balance in the account?
125.
And have you allocated any of that? So what is your plan?
So right now, the one project that's on our plate right now is King Kamehameha III Elementary School, which is about $146 million project just for the school. There's about another 60 or so million dollars in infrastructure improvements that need to be incorporated in that project to make it successful.
So do you have, that's your plan of using it for the school? You would probably deplete most of the funds.
In
that you're
addition,
expecting?
from my understanding is that there's also federal FEMA monies that disaster relief funds that will be available specifically to fund some of that as well. I want to say right now, my understanding it's around 48 million is what they have available. But we'll see at the end of the day what FEMA comes up with. There's a lot of moving parts, right, to that aspect.
So the priority is just the schools, or is there funds also being allocated elsewhere in terms of priority?
So at this point in time, the only project that we have that's come forward is this elementary school project. There are other projects like the library that was destroyed on Front Street that also is going to need funding. And I'm sure that we're going to have to utilize either some of this funds or other funds to be able to support the reconstruction of that facility.
When you say the project that has come forward, so they have to come forward to you, or are you overseeing
Yeah, because
what the needs are? For the
a lot of these
building?
projects don't reside in DAGs. These are not, it's not like a DAGs specific facility, unlike maybe like the Lahaina Civic. Like there's some of the buildings in the Lahaina Civic Center complex that do belong and are managed by DAGs. These projects, like the school is DOE, the library is Hawaii State Public Library System. There are some, like the harbor is Department of Land and Natural Resources. But the only conversations that we've had so far, the only people that have reached out and said that they want to have discussions about it relate to specifically to the school itself.
Thank you.
Okay, who's asking though? Is it DOE?
It's coming through the governor's office and the Department of Education.
But these are insurance proceeds, right?
Correct.
When something burns down or gets destroyed and you collect insurance proceeds, isn't it operational law that they have to be spent on rebuilding the structure that was destroyed?
So by statute, it does not specify that it must specifically go towards that.
Okay, so there is flexibility
Yes.
then, but don't you think that should be the priority of collecting insurance proceeds to rebuild what was destroyed?
From my perspective, yes. I mean, you get insurance funds, you should be using it to reconstruct whatever facilities were damaged and or destroyed.
That's a good point. Thank you for enlightening me on that. But there is no hard fast like if you were privately insured, right?
No.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
So was it only the library that was destroyed?
Library, the King Kamehameha Elementary School, third elementary school was
What other
destroyed.
government buildings?
I want to say that, I mean, clearly the harbor itself was severely damaged, some buildings destroyed there. I want to say there was some public housing that was also impacted as well. But again, the only discussion that we've had to this point in time has been on the school.
So some of the agencies are coming forward to fund some of these projects. I'm just wondering how much they know of being able to be part of this award that's coming in.
Yeah, I will say that, I know that our risk management office has had discussions with those departments about their facilities. So they have some awareness of, our insurance policy that has been basically tapped for this incident. Whether or not they know how to come forward and ask and participate. I will just say that we've had discussions with within cabinet about that. And the only ones that we've had any specific interest come forward has been the elementary school.
Would you have a process that you could develop so that you can not just have a cabinet meeting on it, but, to have a procedure so that it's equally distributed for need?
Yeah, we'll certainly make it known to them. We'll certainly make it known to them that this is something that they can look to help support that effort. But you're aware of it now. So, if we do get this ceiling, again, the project that is ready to go at this point in time is the elementary school.
So none of the other government facilities need to be rebuilt?
Well, I know.
If they're not coming to you, they're not coming to us.
Right.
So does that mean there's no interest in rebuilding?
The only one that I'm aware of that I've just recently, like within the last 2 weeks, had conversations about is the library. for the rebuilding of the library in Lahaina. They came to us specifically because they want to locate. They're calling it a temporary library facility, but it would be on the grounds of where the Lahaina Civic Center is located. Do you know where the parking? There's that big parking lot, sort of to the, if you're looking at the Judiciary Building, it's to the right. And then sort of between the county parcel and the state parking lot, there's a big strip of grassland over there. That's where they want to utilize that land. They've had conversations with the county about impacts to parking, like for the Maui Invitational, that kind of stuff. And the county said, no, it shouldn't be any issue, right? There shouldn't be, they don't see it as a conflict. So that's the only most recent discussion that I've had with the library system about Lahaina.
But do you think having this almost piecemeal approach where just because we're having conversations with one department versus looking at the overall rebuild of Lahaina and prioritizing the dollars so that we can accomplish the overall rebuilding, especially in regards to state buildings?
I think, it's a fair question that you've presented. I will just say that given the priority of trying to do everything we can to rebuild that Lahaina community, the first project that came up and that we were made aware of was the elementary school. Should we perhaps go back and
But there
reevaluate?
needs to be some plan to say, yes, we're going to rebuild all of it. We're not going to rebuild. We're only going to rebuild some of it. We're only going to rebuild the school.
Yeah, to your point, I think the response is that we want to restore those buildings that were destroyed and or damaged. So I think that has been, from at least my perspective, the direction that we're
But there
heading.
should be some deadline for the departments to say, we're interested. If not, you got to go through the regular budget process.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to access these insurance dollars.
Yeah, and to your point, let me circle back with Hawai'i and the governor's office and have that conversation with them just to make sure that that is being communicated, that we can get that information to.
Because the reality is there is a temporary school, so at least it's going on. The other facilities, I'm not sure, they're not like you're mentioning. The library doesn't even have a temporary facility, so the public doesn't have access.
I think they're renting some space at either the Lahaina Cannery Mall or the mall across the street there, Maui Market, not Maui Marketplace. I can't remember.
That's an expensive, very poor alternative to, we have state lands to Chair's point,
Totally agree.
But I think that this point of a master plan is critical for the community. People not only know what's going to get rebuilt, but when and why not, so they understand, and that's what stops the schisming from happening.
Yeah,
Sure.
but wouldn't it be too late? I mean, what sounds like you're going to end up spending the entire insurance award for one project, and then all the other state departments are going to have to go through the process, which could take years. And then what does that mean for the community? And then if you're going to do the master plan after you already spent all the money on the on the school, it doesn't seem like there's a right order of how things are occurring.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just, from my perspective, from a DAG's perspective, I'm really just focused on
who's in charge of making sure that.
I think from a coordination aspect, I would start with Hawai'i from that point, from their planning.
To determine the rebuilding plan for.
To at least help bring everybody together and collaborate on something like that. There's also an Office of Recovery, I believe, in the governor's office. No, but I think they have one internally as well. So, but I would start with Hawai'i. I think they really need to be engaged and involved because they were boots on the ground, for this tragedy right from the get-go. So.
Yeah,
but they're the disaster response arm.
Yeah.
They're not the planning rebuild arm. You're the closest thing to it, I think.
The county, I'm not sure where the county is at their rebuilding plan.
County's got $1 billion, right, that they're sitting on as part of their effort. So,
so if these things are not coordinated correctly, we are not spending money
wisely
in an efficient, effective manner. So it be in the sense where you're going to use over $100 million in infrastructure. If the county has $1 billion, if they're master planning it, you would think there would be a Lahaina-wide infrastructure plan, and then we can use those monies for rebuilding. I mean, there should be a little more coordination instead of this piecemeal reactive approach.
Yeah. Appreciate your comments, Chair.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, this might be a bit above your pay grade. I think we're all trying to figure out who is it that we have to say, what's the plan and what needs to get rebuilt and who's paying for what.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good point. I will just say that getting this school rebuilt, I think is a priority for the entire community
Yeah,
as well.
we're not saying it's not a priority.
Yeah.
It's just that if the county has monies, we're using insurance monies, there could be an effect of other agencies being left out, which is, I think, the fear.
I
So
understand.
I hear what you're saying. Oh, yeah, we got the DOE, that's priority, but then you're not talking about the guys that are going to get left out, which could leave critical services from Lahaina.
Right. One thing I also just want to mention, Chair, is that in our biweekly meetings, we have biweekly update meetings with all involved parties. The County of Maui is present and actively part of those discussions. And so we have had some discussion about possible cost sharing on infrastructure. So there
Yeah.
has been some of that
So
as well.
I think we have to put a sense of urgency on that
Yeah.
before we lift the ceiling. Because
Yeah.
if not, there's no sense in lifting the ceiling if with a reactive, approach versus something way more comprehensive. Because at least you can let the community know, this is the plan. This is where the dollars are going to get spent. This is the order we're going to rebuild.
Yeah.
Because there's no really, you don't know which building is going to come up first, what's critical, what's not.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the concerns that we do have too with this particular, especially with the temporary site, and I don't have all the details in front of me, but I will just tell you that we are going to have to start paying for the operations and maintenance of that facility pretty soon. FEMA has been saying that they're going to turn it over to the state. And we're not just talking
Yeah,
about the
who is we? Is it
payments.
JAGS or DOE that pays?
It's the DOE. Yeah.
Okay.
It's DOE. They were the ones that signed the MOU with FEMA on that particular project.
Okay. So before I think we agree to lifting the ceiling, though, we want to see a master plan.
Yeah, and I would just urge and ask you for your consideration, Chair, that if we can put that together and provide it to you during this session, that you please consider.
No, yeah, you have
Oh,
time,
okay.
but it's not like it's off the table. We just want to see a master plan and a lot more comprehensive, methodical approach.
We'll circle back and then we'll get back with you, Chair.
And if you are meeting with the county where this $1 billion they're sitting on as well, that plan should include the county.
It should, I will just say that when you look at yes, I'll just agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
So part of that plan should be the county and
Yeah.
state funding.
Yeah.
Then it
How
turns
can we
to-
leverage that to the best possible?
Thank you, Comptroller. I think the other thing, when you put that plan together, I think it's very important to understand what other departments also are going to be required to put funds up. My understanding is there's a commitment from the Department of Transportation,
Mhm.
For a bypass road. And I think that the frustration has been that nothing has been put in writing to tell us. It's all hearsay.
Mm.
There is no true plan of what is our commitment and whose monies are coming from, right? Because I think we need to understand, does it make sense for regional planning? I think the chair's point is very salient, because if we're going to put this much money in, and I think what really bothered me was when people came to see me about the Department of Transportation commitment, they told me it was free money. And I said, there is no free money, right? That is taking away from other state highway projects that needs to be put in for this elementary school, because the sites that we selected has no infrastructure, right? And so part of the site, I'm just like, okay, there's a lot of good sites out there, but if we're going to have to put in infrastructure, then we better make sure that there is regional benefit. And for the library, because they're off on their own, nobody's really thinking about them. If we're going to put in regional infrastructure, we should put all the state facilities as close as possible together, right? So I think in that plan needs to be something that's very concrete, so we can understand where we're going to go with all this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, if you're going to spend $160 million on infrastructure, I would think you would want several agencies to benefit from it instead of just one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Okay, but can you
Yes.
implement that? I mean, it's one thing agreeing, it's another thing coming up with a plan to make sure that that's the case.
Definitely added to our list of things to do,
Okay.
Chair. Thank you.
Okay, next item.
Okay, so thank you for that. The next item is actually the AGS 231. We have a request related to the increase in utility costs. There's 4 that you see in a row. $520,000 for Oahu, $225,000 for Hawaii Island, $240,000 for Maui, and $80,000 for Kauai. So when you look at why we're asking for these funds, actually a lot of it goes back to not necessarily electricity, it's actually the water and sewer charges that are increasing. You see that they've all been posted, all these additional rates. And so we're asking for that increase in utilities. I'm not sure if you have any questions, but just for your awareness, on average, our water charges have increased by 14% statewide, and our sewer has increased by 4% over last year. So the previous year. So it continues to go up. AGS 251, we're requesting an increase to the motor pool revolving fund in the amount of 1.3 million, which we're going to use to purchase some additional electric vehicles, zero emission vehicles, as well as install additional charging stations. As I mentioned, we want to install about 195 more electric vehicle charging stations throughout the state of Hawaii. But in order to do that, as well as the needed infrastructure, in order to do that, we need access to the ceiling. Just for your awareness, our current fleet, we've got about 403 vehicles in our current DAGS managed fleet. 16 or 4% of those are zero emission vehicles. 17 are plug-in hybrids. 87 or 22% are hybrids, and the other balance 70% are actually internal combustion engines. And we want to be able to use some of these funds so that we can move forward and buy these electric vehicles in larger chunks. In order to do that, we're going to need access to those funds.
To the vehicles, the gas vehicles, when you replace them with EVs.
Well, if we can't repurpose them for other state agencies, then if they're at their end of life, essentially we will auction them off. So, yeah.
So you use them all to end of life.
Yes, I will. I can assure you that if you look at some of our vehicles, you can tell that they're at the end of life. Yeah, unfortunately. The other thing I wanted to mention, I didn't mention this in the in our accomplishments, but AMD has actually installed telematics into some of our vehicles. We have 167 of the 403 that have the telematics system installed. We're going to do another batch here by February. We'll be up to 203 total with installed, and then by by the end of fiscal year 2027, we'll have all 403 vehicles with telematics systems installed. And what does that mean? It means that we can better manage the fleet. We'll know where the fleet is, how healthy the fleet is, whether vehicles need to come in for servicing, have and collect all that kind of information to be able to better manage it. So we're very kind of excited about that. But again, the ceiling increase is going to be used primarily for our zero emission vehicle fleet increasing, as well as the EV charging stations. Okay.
What is your balance in that account?
Do have that information before asking. Sorry, just give me a moment. I apologize. Oh. Yep. Ending cash 744. Yep. So currently the balance in that revolving fund is $744,000.
Senator Lee?
Thanks. Just back on the EV acquisition.
I'm sorry.
Caltrans recently just procured 600 Rivian pickup trucks for their state fleet. Part of what informed that decision was a look at not only obviously the cost of upfront buying new vehicles, which they have to turn over anyway, like anybody else, but looking at the life cycle costs, including all the maintenance and everything else. And even though we're thinking of end of life for fleet vehicles and auctioning them off and other things like that, part of what they're finding, not only here, but in other states, in similar purchases, is that long before you get to actually what would traditionally be deemed end of life for a vehicle, because the maintenance costs toward the latter half of that life cycle tend to skyrocket, it's just way more cost effective at the front end to pay a little more for those.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as you're looking at fleet replacement and all of these things in the calculations. Do you guys have an accounting for really what those escalating costs are over time and how that factors into how much you put into turning over the fleet and how fast?
Yeah, we are looking at life cycle costs. Unfortunately, I don't have that data with me here today, but I can tell you that is one of the items that comes into the calculation as we're looking at the replacement of these vehicles. The biggest challenge for us, quite frankly, whenever we do put out a bid for EVs is getting local dealerships to actually submit bids. Or getting anybody, quite frankly, to submit bids. We would love to have someone like, let's just say Rivian as an example, if they have a dealer to consider submitting bids. When we're, or other, like, I don't want to say, maybe Nissan or Toyota or any one of those, Honda,
And just
whoever's making these EVs.
If there's no local dealer, like
Anyone could bid on it, right? You're not like, we would
talking about any
prefer,
manufacturer or dealer.
yeah, we would prefer supporting our local dealer.
Yeah, okay.
But anyone is welcome to submit bids. We just need the vehicles, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next item.
Okay. All right. Let's just see. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I'm on track here.
The 500,000.
So AGS 252, we're requesting a $500,000 ceiling increase. And by the way, the balance in that revolving fund is $1.8 million, just in case anyone's curious. But these funds will be utilized for our growing maintenance needs in our facilities, much like our brick and mortar buildings that we all work in. The parking garages also need caring as well, and they have deferred maintenance. And so in order for us to be able to do things like waterproofing the upper decks of some of these facilities, we're going to need to have access to those funds. So we're just asking for a nominal increase so that we can be able to keep up with the deferred maintenance on our facilities. Okay. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the next one. AGS 892 relates to the State Building Code Council. As you are all aware, SBCC is an attached agency to DAGS. It's not a division of DAGS. But you may be wondering, well, why are we asking for this in our supplemental budget request? Primarily, it's because since SBCC was created, it's essentially been a volunteer group of individuals that have been leading the effort, and they've been doing a good job. But by statute, there is a section in there that speaks to an executive director position and an executive assistant position. And so we put that forward for consideration in this supplemental budget request so that we can have a true attached agency with staff and an executive director that can be held responsible for the activities of the SBCC as it's laid out in statute. They have a tremendous amount of responsibility. If you look at 107-25, you can see, that they have to go through all of the various different codes, plumbing, electrical, international building code, fire code, and do that on a regular basis whenever those updates come out. And then the counties have to take them up and incorporate them. And so it's a really important process. And if you don't have the proper team in place to be the tip of the spear on that responsibility, it's very difficult when you're relying on volunteers to get that kind of work done. And
So who currently does the administrative rulemaking now?
Well, I mean, the SBCC would be producing the rules, and then it would come through the department as.
No, so they haven't,
normally.
even the volunteer group has never did administrative rules.
I got to go back and look. I'm sorry, it's an attached agency. I honestly,
Because they've been around for a little while.
they've been around for a little while. Yes.
So have they just been reviewing and not making rules too?
No, I have to say they must have rules because they are performing work and they are putting out updated code, right? That is then looked at and adopted by the counties.
Chair,
So I just don't have it in front of me.
on that note, is it my understanding that the State Building Code Council is suspended because of the emergency proclamation? Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
And so this funding would articulate funding them, but they won't be able to operate unless the EP is lifted.
Yeah, I get the sense that it's sort of I don't want to say connected, but there is some connection to making sure that we have the right people in place, or at least positions in place, to be able to turn that switch back on and have them get to work. There is some work that's being done now, but it's very preliminary on the building codes. But we really need to have this team constituted so that they can take that on and be responsible for
Yeah,
it.
and I'll just say one more comment on this, Chair. I think the challenge is, Comptroller, that there's a lag of adopting codes and confusion. I know Senator Hashimoto and I, we've attempted to work and still working through these issues, but you know, there's a disconnect. So that's all, and it's just a little frustrating.
Yeah, I have a question as well on the building code console, that they may have the rules, but they still have to get the counties to adopt the rules. So there's more than a lag of the building council coming up with rules, but it's also the counties not adopting the rules. So if in fact you have these positions, will they be able to look at the statute as well, so that if we're having the building code changes, they're actually being executed at the county level, because that's where the building is being reviewed?
Right. The great news about the SBCC is that when you look at the makeup of the SBCC, you have representation from all of the counties that are part of that. They're voting members on the SBCC. So there's one from each of those counties that sits on that panel. So hopefully in that process, as they're looking at these various updated building codes, they're injecting, if you will, sort of their kuleana and their sort of what their needs are from their respective counties, at least at a high level, so that when it does come to the counties, they're prepared to be able to make those county-specific adjustments.
So can this, if we have these positions that are more permanent and not voluntary, that they look at the statute as well? So no sense having building code revisions if it's not being executed in the county.
No, absolutely. And when you look at, what's interesting is when you look at the statute 10723, it says, council shall appoint an executive director who shall serve blah, 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 and have administrative abilities and experience with the building industry. And they shall also appoint an executive assistant who shall have experience in statutory and administrative rulemaking processes. So that speaks to exactly what you're talking about there. So it's not just like hiring, sort of just an EA that doesn't have specific responsibilities. Like, they have to find somebody that specifically has that administrative rulemaking experience, so that they can go through that process, as well as understanding statutes, which is extremely
So
critical.
this one's going to be legit.
Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
And okay. All right. Sorry. Thank you for that. The next item is AGS 881 that relates to the State Foundation on Culture and Arts increase in their ceiling for the commissioned works of art to 2.3 million by an additional $2.3 million. SFCA is an attached agency to DAGS. We support them administratively, but from a management oversight, it's their responsibility. So if you have any questions, the executive director is here. We can ask her to come up and provide any answers that you folks might have.
So what is the balance in that account?
I will have to look.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good morning. The cash balance for the special fund is 22 million.
22.
And and currently our ceiling for this fiscal year is 3.3. But 2 of that is allocated to the capital pools project. So in future fiscal years, it will be 1.3 that we can access of that balance. So we're asking to access more in order to do more commissioned works of art. There's a demand for that, especially like places like King Kamehameha III, Kahului Civic Center, and then also our acquisitions of works of art. So we're asking to raise the ceiling for that.
So the ceiling increases for what again?
It's for, typically we spend about 600,000 on acquisition of relocatable works of art for the entire state. And we're projecting to commission about $700,000 worth of commission works of art, specific works of art throughout the state as well. We have like 7 open projects now, including the Capitol Pools, Wahiwa Civic Center, Kona Airport, but there's always a demand from department heads and site facilities for more engagement. That answer your question?
Questions? Senator Lee?
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much. Following up on an earlier conversation on some of the other projects that are in that upcoming pipeline, is there anything in particular that's purely just for a state facility, like say airport or, you know, that kind of thing that's yet to be programmed in that
Yeah.
pipeline?
Yes, there definitely are. I mean, the Terminal 2, at the airport is one coming up. NASED, the stadium project. Again, Kahului Civic Center. There are, for new sites, much interest. And we actually just put up, we are within this week putting up a new form online for people to inquire and to fill. Yeah.
So when you have like multiple, let's say, or more projects than there's money for within the prospective budget that you'd be asking for allocating, does the commission itself basically decide which of those projects are the priority for the immediate funding? How does that work?
No, typically what happens is that it's decided upon by the department head or say UH or Department of Education. Those heads or leadership teams reach out to the state foundation. They're the ones who decide what the priority is for their buildings. And then it's at this point, it's on a chronological basis. It's like depending on who comes to us first, we rotate that way. And typically it's been where it's rotated well, where there have been schools and libraries and airport. Well, the airport's a little unique. But it's been we've been able to address all different kinds of facilities.
But is it right that the commission itself still has to approve whatever those projects and expenditures are?
No, the commission approves the Art Advisory Committee makeup. So the Art Advisory Committee is made up of stakeholders and community members, and we go to the commission for approval of that committee. And then we go to the commission for approval of the design phase, mobilization phase, things like that.
But is there a process where, let's say, there's not enough time to go through the whole thing because we shift funding because there's a situation like Maui where all of a sudden, right, you got to rebuild a lot of stuff that was not previously programmed. Does the commission still need to be engaged for that? Is there a way you can kind of go around that and fast track in the need that
we don't need to engage the commission on that. We haven't had that issue where we've had a backlog of requests. They come and we plan accordingly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. We can follow this later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Karen? Yep, good job. All right, moving on to AGS 221. This is a request that relates to the establishment of a special projects branch within the Public Works Division of DAGS. We're asking for 3 new exempt positions within our Public Works Division, as well as some operating expenses to allow them to be able to function during the fiscal year. These exempt positions will be unique to the state. As we seek to create them, they will be filled with dedicated, highly skilled and a highly specialized team that will be focused on our more complex and challenging projects, such as NASED, OCCC, and other P3s that are in the pipe or maybe in the pipeline in the future. We're asking for 3 positions, as I mentioned. One is a special project executive, another is a senior project manager, and the third one is a cost management specialist. And the work that would be performed by these 3 positions has been historically outsourced to external consultants. And so what we want to do is really bring that in-house and build that skill set in-house so that we don't have to rely on these external consultants all the time, who, you know, ends up costing us a significant amount of money. And so we want to be able to try to create this team. We know we do believe there are people that would be interested in these kind of roles out there with the skill sets. We just need to have your support in that effort so we can create it.
So NASED would move from Public Works to this division.
Well, it's a branch. It would be a branch in Public Works.
Yeah, but
So-
then it would so.
Yep.
But
So-
NASED would be primarily in this branch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because as you know,
Yeah.
and we've talked about, right now the administrator is splitting his time between everything else
But
that
you
he's
said
doing.
they have how many? 400 something projects?
474 projects.
Several billion?
Yes.
And so how many staff does he have now?
Right now, he's got 78 filled of 99 positions authorized.
So you're sure you can get the three experts in
Yes.
this branch?
We're confident because the reason why we're asking them to be exempt is because we know that these are
No.
unique,
But we have to try this though.
right?
Because if not, the amount of consulting fees that we're using is just, it's too much.
It's going to continue to
It's too
skyrocket.
much. And then the state doesn't have any control. We don't know what's going on in negotiations.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we're left out.
Yep.
So this will be, they will oversee it like project managers?
Yeah, they're
everything that's the
replacing
project.
a lot of the consultant contract project
Right.
management.
Right.
So this is to bring some of the contract management in-house.
Correct. That is correct. Yep.
From the start of a project to execution.
Well, but not
completion.
every project. So it's like you're saying would be
The big
NASED, would be maybe OCCC.
more
some of these
complex.
more- If there's a PPP or
Right.
Mm.
not traditional CIP, anything almost non-traditional CIP would probably go to this.
Correct.
Comptroller,
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
thank you, Chair. Comptroller, do you have a breakdown of what is going to salaries, what is going to resources? 728,000 seems to be substantial, but I'm sure you have a breakdown.
I do, actually. So what we're asking for, the special project executive position, we're asking for 220,000. For the senior project manager, it's 160, and for the cost management specialist, it's 139. It does sound high.
Yeah.
If you try to compare it to your traditional civil service roles that we have within the state of Hawaii, but these are extremely unique
Yeah.
and specialized skill sets that you're not going to find. These people that are doing this kind of work in the private sector are probably making
More. But
yeah.
but just to put, I mean, there is some sticker shock initially, but however, when you talk about how much we spent on NASED
Consultant.
already in consultants, that's been almost 50 million.
Yep.
Almost 50 million. And so this will hopefully bring it back in so we can get control of costs, because
Yes.
when you do the project management outside, it's not their money. And so the costs, and then the communication between the consultant and even the comptroller is very minimal.
Yep.
So we're paying a contractor, a consultant to manage another contractor,
Yep.
which is why we're losing control of timelines,
Yep.
budget, communication, and so we gotta get a
Yeah,
hold of it.
just a follow-up. How fast would it take you to fill these positions?
I mean, as soon as we can get these authorized, we'll go through the reorganization process to create and establish the branch, and then establish the positions. We can do that simultaneously. I know that our Public Works administrator has already been working on some of the PDs for these positions, so it's not like we're starting at zero. So our hope, much like we did with the cemeteries branch that you supported, is to get it done within that first, at least get it established and the PDs ready and out for recruitment within that first 6-month window of it being approved in the supplemental year.
So if this is approved, do you know already
Of course, sooner.
the contracts in regards to NASED that could be greatly reduced or eliminated?
I mean, we have identified NASED, OCCC. We know that we've been talking about what do we do with this capital district as it relates to Kinauhale and those properties, going forward. How can we leverage sort of these kind of internal expertise?
No, I get that. What I'm saying is right now you have the stadium has some contracts
Yeah.
out with with certain vendors.
Yes.
And so if this is established, then some of those contracts can get greatly
We would
reduced.
pull that back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the intent. Okay.
Which what?
Yeah.
You're gonna what? You gotta see it to believe it type of thing.
Is there gonna be a state architect?
But we gotta try something, right?
So we do have architects that work within Public Works Division that would be accessible, right, as resources. We don't specifically I mean, one of these people could be an architect.
That's what I'm
but-
saying. It's an integral part, and part of the
Right.
thing has been, the fact that we don't have a state architect on these projects. We
Yeah.
have consultant architects, and then when we have to do changes in design or things, then we run into another cost overrun, delay, change orders. So I'd hope you use the opportunity to elevate somebody within that team to that state architect.
There may be an opportunity for that, but I will just say that whoever that we do select will have complete access to all of the resources that we have at least within our team at TAGS, which include architects, highly experienced architects. Hopefully there'll be somebody that applies that is an architect, right? That has that background and experience. And then maybe once we do prove ourselves, that you'll support us when we come back, Chair, and ask you for a specific architect on this team, right? Down the road. So we just ask for your support. Let us try this. Let us see how we can make it work. And then, once we've proven that it's a positive thing for the state, then we can come back and talk about how do we expand it and make it stronger.
The only thing I want to find out is instead of using the A funds, because it's specific to CIP projects, why couldn't some of the funding from those projects be used for these staff? So you're taking contract money away from, or that was using for stadium contractors. Why can't we use that money to fund this?
I know.
At least initially.
Yeah. So I know that the state did that at one point in time. We had positions within Public Works that were funded through that mechanism.
No, so I wouldn't necessarily fund it how they previously did
Right.
through CIP. What I'm suggesting is
Build them.
build stadium,
Mhm.
just like how the contractor would,
Mhm.
at least initially till we can see if this is worth the investment, which, crossing our fingers.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we would be open to exploring whatever
Because
option.
now what are they doing with that money?
Yeah,
Because it's already a
That's true.
greatly reduced cost,
yeah,
providing a service.
yeah. We can work with you, and explore that as an option.
Senator Kim.
So what's the timeline for this whole organization, approval, setting it up, hiring?
Mhm.
What's your target date?
So, thank you, Senator. So what I was sharing a little bit earlier was that if you folks do approve it, actually, we've already been working on some of the preliminary.
What's the time? What's the dates? You
So
don't have to give me
You approve it, fiscal year 27 starts in July. We anticipate 6 months having all of the reorg
Yeah.
and PDs approved and out for recruitment. So that's our goal, is to get that done. And if we can hire within that 6 months, we'll do so. But we're already working on all of the PDs as well as.
So we're
that-
looking like end of the year, December.
Yeah, I mean, well, because June is coming up pretty
So-
soon, so.
The timeline for the graveyard managers.
Yeah, so we thought we were gonna actually take about 12 months to get that done, but Jimmy and his team worked extremely diligently with our ASO staff to get that up running and out the door for recruitment in a very short period
So
of time.
the goal is by December of this.
That's our target, yes.
Okay, so in the meantime, what's happening with all the contracts and everything at the
Well, in the
state?
meethime, we continue to work with our consultants.
The
for
guy
our
behind him.
project, So.
Okay, and then it turns over and, okay.
Well, Chris and Lynn said they're gonna have meetings.
And so are you, right?
Well, and housing. Yeah.
Okay, I have questions on
There's a lot of great
other things.
opportunities that we can utilize.
Well, I mean, at this point, we have to stop the bleeding with the contracting
Mhm.
and,
Yeah,
It should have
anyway.
been done.
yeah, this is the right
long ago.
move from our perspective, and we'd ask for your humble support.
Okay, what's the next one?
AGS 901 is the last financial addition to our request, and that is for the Hawaii Broadband Office. As you know, Hawaii Broadband Office was transferred over from DBED as our 12th attached agency within DAGS. Unfortunately, when it was transferred over, there was a deficit in the salaries, and so they're short by about $36,000. We're just asking for you to add that back in. Right now, Broadband Office is under the Comptroller's Program ID.
But the transfer was administrative or by bill?
Well, I think it happened in the budget, so, or by bill, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm hearing by bill, so yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just asking for your support in that effort. to restore those funds.
Did you do that on purpose?
And one thing I'm going to throw out there, and I did mention this in House Finance yesterday during our testimony, is that although they're in program ID 901, which is the comptroller's office, we would much prefer that they be in their own program ID. We have a program ID set up for them. It's program ID 895. So if there's any way to
No, but is that going to be part of the governor's budget bill already?
it is not included in there. But if there's any opportunity to make that adjustment by putting them into Prog ID 895.
Oh, because then it's transparent.
For that.
You can
Yeah.
see how they spend.
Correct. Yeah,
Mm.
right. And it's not that we don't love the broadband office, it's just that we think they should be, as an administratively attached agency on their
I'm just wondering if the governor is doing the change in his budget, but he said he doesn't think so. So it has to be an amendment.
I know it's not,
Yeah.
yeah. So we just ask for your support in that, if
Yeah.
you can, if it's possible. We do have two non-financial requests that are it's not in table 6, but it's in table 4. And I'll just let you know what they are. The one is a trade-off transfer. They're asking to move a vacant contracts assistant position from Public Works and moving it over to AGS 901, which is and specifically in our Human Resources Office. We want to create an additional human resources specialist. Right now, we've got, for a department of 856 people, we've got 10 positions in that office right now. We're just understaffed, we're underwater. It's hard for them to keep up with all the things that we have going on. And so by adding this additional human resource specialist, it's going to allow us to be able to take care of our HR needs, our growing HR needs within that particular office. So we just ask for your humble support in that request. We're not asking for any money. We're just asking for the position to be transferred over to that program. And the last one is conversion of one position within ETS, AGS 131. It's to convert a temporary exempt position to a permanent exempt position. Making this position permanent will allow ETS to be able to
It's filled.
I believe it's filled, yeah. Yeah. So it is a filled position. And right now that position supports the Access Hawaii Committee and many other related duties. So we just want to provide some level of comfort to that position and that incumbent that the work's not going away, by the way. I mean, this work will continue to be necessary for ETS and for the state. We just want that position to know that they're not temporary anymore. So we'd ask for your humble support in that change as well.
I just had a question about table 22.
22.
Page, I guess it's our page 6, it's our page 83 of 99. So if you look at the telework, strategic broadband coordinator and state digital equity coordinator, it says here number of telework days a week. Both of them have 0, but they're on the list. So that means they don't telework or they telework?
Well, I'll ask the administrator to come up. She's right behind me, so she can go ahead and clarify.
Oh, no.
on
It's
that.
broadband.
Oh, I'm sorry, broadband. Sorry. Chang, who's here.
What is that? No, I know, but did we ask?
Oh, I see that. The last page.
Thank you, Chair, for the question. Our remote work policy is not, I might get into trouble for this. It's not a perk. It's need-based. So telework I don't know if you have a copy of.
Okay, so it's 0 is the norm, and then every
Yeah.
so often you make an exception.
Right, so if there are instances, so just to give you an example, like let's say if we have a meeting out at Waianae or an event out at Waianae, the expectation is not to drive into town and go back out, go out to Waianae.
Yeah,
Telework, go to your meeting and then remote work
Yeah.
the rest of the day. So yeah, as needed.
okay.
Yeah.
Questions?
So you're considering that as teleworking if that's part of their job to be out there?
So
No,
so
in
our
office hours.
no, I'm in the office, right? So
No, so
uh,
if you were saying if they were supposed to come into the office here for a couple hours, then go out to Waianae and then drive back, you're saying don't do that, just go straight to telework, go to the meeting and then
yeah, remote
Yeah.
work. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So We have
Yeah, so-
by position.
Part is not, but
Yeah, so our positions are all identified in the job description as telework eligible. So we move from there. You need to be eligible to actually participate in the telework policy. And so, yeah, so it's need-based.
Yeah.
It's zero, but it's identified as telework eligible.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Senator Hashimoto.
I have a question on the vacancy report. I think, what I'm a little bit concerned about the level of vacancies, especially essential services that you have, because that really is core to the neighbor islands. I think it said in the report that you have no engineers on the neighbor islands. I know you filled the Maui one, but I think we should be working on trying to expeditiously fill some of those positions. I know I was looking, there's one that was, I don't know, you have engineer 5 that was technically vacant for like almost 10 years, but I think, I don't know what your progress is, but I think there's dire consequences, right? And I hope we can hone in on trying to figure out how do we solve that? I know you can pay a little bit more, but maybe it needs to be even more than that.
I really appreciate that question, Senator. I will just share that we have been actively working with some of our newly minted district engineers, particularly on Maui, believe it or not. Our new
Feeling bad.
Yes, we took him away from the county. We're very fortunate. But what he has actually been doing now is putting forward requests to recruit above the minimum as well as hire above the minimum. And so through that process, we've gotten some great support from DHERD, believe it or not, on that to give us that flexibility to hire within the range, but at the upper.
So we haven't
ends.
been trying that before.
No.
It's relatively new.
Yes.
Right.
So now that we've got that district engineer in place who has that experience, he knows how the system works. He's been implementing it. We're gonna do the same thing for the other district offices so that we can attract those people to fill those roles. We feel very confident that there are people on Maui right now that if we were able to do this and get the support from DHERD, as I've indicated, that they would be very interested in putting their resumes in and being considered.
Okay, so we should have some progress.
I will tell you that I hope that I'm sitting here in the next 3 or 4 months before you and being able to tell you those positions have been filled.
Good.
So,
Good to hear. Thank
Yep.
you.
Follow-up questions.
Sorry.
Follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's great that you're trying to fill those engineering positions. I just hope that when you do, that we're not using engineers just to be project managers, because that appears to be happening across the board. High-end engineers, architects, and they become project managers and you consult it out. So I hope that's not going on. I just wanted to check and see, there are a number of, and I appreciate the fact that you folks have now put some real dates, and I don't know how real these dates are that you expect to fill, but at least it's not the same date, like last year over and over again. However, I see like a position on page 28 that it was going to be filled on January 15th, and there's some that's filled 1/5, two of them supposed to be filled by 1/5. So were they filled?
can you identify the position for me?
Yes,
Number?
I sure can. Let me get
I just need the position number and I can go ahead and pull them.
position number 4375 and position number 21598. Both of them said you were going to hire by 1/5. And I checked your table that said, these are pending or these are contracts. None of them are on there. And then you have several that is like 115, 116, which is just a week away or a few days away. So again, how realistic is these dates that you gave us?
Well, so just so you know, when we put this together, it was back in November 30th. So prior to November 30th is when we put all of these dates.
Don't update it for
So,
us? I'm going to ask the question.
Yeah. So actually, that's why I was asking for the position numbers, because I do have updates. And hopefully I'll be able to provide that to you very shortly. And if I can't do it in this meeting, I will get you that information over to your office.
Have this. I only
Yep.
get it recently and I just glanced through it and
Yep.
it just, it shines red. So I don't know how your staff hasn't picked up on it to say, no, we didn't hire yet. But
So-
it appears that you folks don't want us to take the position because some of these positions are old, right? So you have 56 positions. I counted 56 positions that is supposed to be hired between January and March. 56. Is that realistic? Are you gonna fill 56 positions? Many of them is in January, several of them is in February, and some of them is in March. But there's 56 of them. I might have missed one or two, but
So just so you know, since we turned in this document, we have filled 16 positions that were on the original list that we submitted to you. In addition to that, we've got 4.
is that on
we
the
made-
bottom of the page that shows what's filled and not? Because I checked those.
But this was turned in December, right? That's why.
November.
Yeah, but he has a list on the back that says these are have contracts
Yeah.
or will start.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So good news, thanks to my wonderful staff that's here with us. That position 21598, which is a groundskeeper 1, is filled.
Great,
So that position has been filled.
okay.
So we're hunting down that other one that you
Okay.
mentioned as
Just
well.
want to
So
be sure that, you guys
Yeah.
are not just giving
yeah,
dates and then, because you've done that in the past, not just you, but other departments. And next year comes and those position is still unfilled.
I hear you.
Okay.
And that's why we sat down with all the administrators and said that if you're going to give us information, it needs to be
Okay,
realistic.
appreciate that.
We're not just going to be copy and pasting.
Okay, let me ask you a different question. When is the ponds going to be done?
The pond, you're talking about the glass. Okay, so thank you for that question. I appreciate you bringing that up.
And how long has it been?
It's been a while.
Thank you. We know.
But I will just share this. So that we had gone about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, we went out to bid on phase 3 of the state capitol.
Okay, when is it going to be done?
So I have to give you a little bit of context, and I'm sorry, I will get to the answer, but we went out to bid back in March of last year. The bid was eventually protested by one of the offers. It was essentially in protest purgatory for almost about a year. It went back and forth with between DCCA as well as all the way up to I want to say circuit court. And then it was appealed. And so we literally spent almost 12 months dealing with the protest on that particular bid.
But you've been working
So
because
there's some work. Yeah, there's work ongoing.
working going.
But so we're gonna reissue the new RFP by March. We had to make some changes to it. Essentially, what we did was we incorporated the glass portion into the RFP itself, and a couple other minor adjustments. But by March, we're gonna put it out to bid, and hopefully we'll have a selection by.
Well,
So
assuming that the bid is not protested or the
Well,
solicitation is not protested.
what are you going out to bid for? I mean, I thought we were,
Yep. So this is phase 3 of the project.
Yeah.
The.
How many phases? How many
This is
phases?
the last
total?
phase of the
Okay,
project.
Okay.
it's a 3-phase project. Phase 1 was the Diamond Head Pool. Phase 2 is the Eva Pool. Phase 3 is the artwork and the other work in both pools. Okay,
why didn't we
And-
do it all in one? Or was that possible?
no, it would not have been optimal because of the long duration of pricing that we'd be holding the contractor to. And so we would end up paying more for the early work than it's actually worth. Okay, and so as Controller has said, we expect to go out with the bid for phase 3 in March. And assuming that we don't run into protests there, then we should be able to award the project by March, April, May, and start the work in the summer.
And when is okay, my original
Okay.
question is when do we expect
And
it to
the
be?
original question is a very fair question, and we believe that our schedule looks at it, and it's just a little bit more than a year to complete the rest of the work.
So we're looking.
27.
at- When,
Some-
27?
Let's see, it'll start in 26 and it should end towards the end of 27.
Oh, and I thought you said 1
Well,
year.
well, fall of 27, let's say, yeah.
His year has 16 months.
Absolutely.
24,
Yes,
you mean
the
24.
longest years possible.
Okay, so I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes,
And the other one is, these emergency announcements
yes.
is very disruptive. Nobody pays attention to it. I was in on Sunday. They kept coming up. No, but one day it's going to be for real, and we're all not going to move from our chairs.
Yep.
So, I mean,
Good thing we're on the second floor.
So
can jump.
I can run faster than the.
Well, the elevators don't work, so I don't know how you're going to get down, but you got to jump.
So, I, first of all, I just want to, I want to apologize for that. I mean, as you know, we're dealing with an old building that has its issues. The fire, alarm system is not exempt from that. We do have a contractor that, we have multiple contractors because we actually have multiple systems in this building, believe it or not. So that come out whenever there's an issue. This particular issue was the result of a faulty sensor, which was identified and replaced yesterday. So hopefully, knock on wood, you don't get any interruptions today. We recognize what you're talking about. It is unacceptable, and we should not be having these kind of failures in our system because, to your point, it's sort of like crying wolf, right?
Yeah.
People are ignoring it, and at some point, we have to make it clear that when these alarms do go off, it's going off for a very, very specific and urgent reason.
It's also excruciating. You hear, especially if you're in my office and the thing goes,
I'm so sorry. I really am sorry.
Access the meetings and so forth. So when you
Don't tell people that, then they're gonna start pulling it.
well, you recessed it. So you say it's a faulty switch. Is that what it is?
It was a sensor.
Sensor.
Yeah.
This is the first time. I
Yeah.
mean, this happened last year. This happened months ago. This happened. So I don't know. All of a sudden, only now there's a faulty sensor.
No, I mean, I would.
How many
bet-
sensors are there?
Oh, they're all over the building. I would bet that it was attributed to other faulty sensors that were replaced along the way. And so this is going to happen, unfortunately. I will just say,
The whole building one time though, instead of.
well, that's our plan, right? So our plan is to, and thank you, by the way, last year you funded that $2 million in pre-planning money so that we can put together options for you folks to consider about how we go about essentially shutting down this building, rehabilitating the entire building, things like the fire alarm and suppression system, as an example, and making sure that we don't deal with these kind of issues, right? In order for us to really do it, we've got to basically rip everything out, put in new, so that because these systems are, patchwork, right, over the last 50-something years. So it's going to happen. Maybe in the next 10 years, I hope. That's kind of our goal. Because it's a huge project, right? There's so many moving parts to it.
But we're in the process, I think, of purchasing the Hawai'i campus. So before we actually do permanent transition to Hawai'i campus, just like how we did Capitol Place.
Right.
The legislature stayed there a little while.
Oh, yeah.
Till they rehab this building, and then the legislature moved back. So I'm not sure if that's an option where we
Sure.
could end up moving.
I think everything's on the
Hawai'i
table here.
campus.
Everything's on the table. I'll tell you this, and I think I've shared this with you and maybe others, is that when we look at as an example, Kinauhale, right? That building, has DOH briefed you yet? Have you gone?
Well, we went during COVID and we saw how bad it was.
Yeah, it's not any better. Okay. So that building is beyond its life cycle. Like we need to demolish it and better utilize
So
that.
that was part of the
land.
reason why we bought Hawai'i campus.
Yeah.
Was to move DOH out.
Right.
But then that didn't work because of the covenant.
Yeah, there's some restrictions that exist there, unfortunately. But it might be good for DLNR. I mean, I think there's a great opportunity.
Okay, and we'll just get back. Okay,
Sorry.
so I understand about the system. I understand it's
Yes.
old. I understand we got to change. I understand all of this. But
Yes.
you know what? It takes forever for somebody to come on as a false alarm. I mean, it goes off like 5-6 times before somebody comes a false alarm. Or can they lower the sound or do something?
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, so our central services administrator is here, and I know he's taking copious notes about what you're sharing, and we'll
He
take
looked
that
like he is.
and address it.
You say false,
Wake up.
then 2 minutes later it goes off again.
And Chair, I just wanted to mention that again, my incredible staff has done the research, and the other position that you mentioned, Senator Kim, 4375, which is also a groundskeeper, was filled on the same date.
Okay.
So we filled both of those positions.
Okay, well, you get 2 stars for that.
Thank you, Senator.
Sure.
Senator Lee, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, just real quickly, because we're on positions, it ties into Senator Hashimoto's. I noticed on one of the tables, I think on page 40, you've got a lot, first of all, you talk about a lot of position vacancies throughout your entire report. But then on table 40, I see that you have restrictions that were funded by vacancy savings. Now, I mean, I'm, just to me, but the people on the streets, but we're trying to fill these positions. There's a need for them, but yet you're taking the money for them and you're putting them to projects, which I assume by being restricted was restricted by budget and finance, right? So doesn't this kind of like still self-defeating if you're using vacancy savings to fund restricted stuff? That means you don't have the funding available to fill this position anymore?
Yeah, and as we fill them, I mean, that's going to happen less and less. So, you know, I can assure you that my primary goal is to use the monies that have been given to us to fill those positions, however means
For
possible.
restricted projects, though. So, I mean.
Well, we're using, I think what, you know, table 7 you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the vacancy savings,
Yep.
one where it says you're basing savings and then from position. Let me look at this one right here. Was it 102, AGS
Mhm.
102? Restriction were covered by vacancy savings. So I'm like, well, how do you fill a vacant position? Or is there, in my mind, a vacant position should be eliminated. Because now
Well-
you're using it for spending for stuff that BNF said no.
I hear what you're saying, but I will say that that position or positions that contributed to what's called vacancy savings, I guarantee you those positions were under active recruitment. And had those positions been filled, and it's not because we're saying, hey, we don't want to fill it. It's just that we get these lists, we do these interviews, people don't accept the positions, we get another list, we do interviews. I literally have an entire
You've given up
encyclopedia.
already,
No.
because they're using it for.
No,
The
we've not given up on it. We
No.
absolutely have not given up on it.
No,
No.
I was just curious.
But I do appreciate that. I see the perspective, but in my mind, and I've made this clear to our team, is that monies that are given to us for positions are for positions. We need to recruit and fill those positions. To your point, if we don't need them and you're not filling them, like you're not actively recruiting and trying to, use every tool possible to get those positions filled, give it back. Give it back. Either maybe there's another division that needs a position, like what we're asking for, right? The trade-off transfer from Public Works. They had that contracts administrator. They have no intent of filling it. If we didn't identify the need in our HR, we would have just deleted it. We would have asked you to delete it because we don't have a use for it. But instead of doing that, we figured, hey, if we can get it for HR, it's going to help us tremendously. It's going to help Daleen and her team so that we don't have these kind of issues. But like I was saying, Chair, I want my staff, my administrators to know, you got a hard to fill position like an engineer 5 or 4 or whatever it is, recruit above the minimum. Let's do it. I'll go to bat for you. I will talk to DHERD. I'll talk to the director, the deputy, whoever I got to talk to convince them to approve it, and we'll get it done. That's been my message to the team.
Appreciate you walking me through it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Senator Q.
On this, I just noticed that your 89-day hire, you have one that has 12, there are 12 appointments.
Yep.
For 89-day hire, and that position had been open since 2021. You have another one, again, I'm just glancing through this, 6 appointments. Emergency hire is emergency, right? Which means you don't know there's an emergency and you have to fill it. But if you're gonna have 12 appointments, I think that violates the law of emergency hires.
Thank you for that question. I believe that position is in ETS. It is an
Does it matter
IT
what
storage
it is?
engineer. This particular employee.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna stop you. The law says 89-day emergency. I don't care
Yep.
what that position is. So how is the emergency?
It is an emergency.
Yeah, but you have every time to fill it. So
I-
all of a sudden you have somebody appointed for 12 times, 89 day. How many years is that? That's not an emergency hire. Emergency hire is supposed to be temporary,
Mhm.
right? You can't use 89-day hire for a long-term 4-year, 3 years, whatever it is.
Okay, so I would bet. And
Okay, how
Christine
much?
Sakuda, who's our CIO, is here. She can speak to it because I do want to resolve your question on this particular item. I will tell you that whenever a request comes in to extend, we have to send it to DHERD for approval.
I understand, but again, the law, read the law as an attorney, read the law and see what the law says. And it says that it's temporary and you shouldn't have 12 appointments. Now, that's only 2 I see. I haven't gone through this list. I just happened to pull it up.
The next highest is 8 and the next highest after that is 6.
Okay, so you have several that.
Yeah, so we're tracking it. I mean, we want these filled with permanent people. We don't want to have these 89 days.
This person, 89-day hire, they're retired or they, I know the AG had that issue.
No, it's Lester Nakamura in networking.
Well, the AG had it with a lot of investigators and they cleaned it up quite a bit. But I mean, again, we're misusing 89-day hires. I didn't write the law. I wasn't here when that law got written, but it's on the books. So why are we violating it?
We don't intend to violate the law.
Understand?
And the person that's filling that role is a person who had been working in that branch that had retired, and we had a hard time filling the role. And so we brought him back, and then we've continued to renew. And I agree, it's not the best way to manage your resources, and we're trying to rebuild the network and security branch. And thank you for the additional positions that we are allowed to bring additional people in that we're hiring for. And so it's just something that we're trying to resolve internally.
Yeah, so instead of using 89-day hire, you need to look at some other way to bring back retirees. I have no problem bringing back retirees. They're great. But to use 89-day hire, that was not what the intent was.
Understand. Thank
So,
you.
Senator, one of the things that, one of the tools that we have been using are personal service contracts, which is a way for us to be able to bring back retirees to be able to provide like a specialized service. So we'll work with Christine and ETS, and if that particular individual is critical for the success of ETS to be able to address their network, then we'll look at implementing a personal services contract rather than continuing the 89-day hire process.
Appreciate that because they have to not work one day and they got to come back on for another contract, right?
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Any other questions? Senator Lee, followed by Senator Favela.
Thanks. I just want to go back to what Senator Kim had started the conversation on about 5 or 6 minutes ago. When you're looking at repair work in whether it's this building and the fire alarms or anywhere else, at what point when you look at a system and say this is broken, and I'll use a couple examples in this building since we're sitting in this building, but I think it applies fairly across the board to schools and to just public facilities in general. And we've had a number of times where the elevators go down, the roll-up gates for the garage and others, and whatever the parts are get replaced and so forth. But at what point do you actually look at the system and say this system as a baseline is 40 years old and we just want to replace the entire system? We get a whole new modern roll-up gate set that'll last for, however long. So we're not spending money to fix over and over again and fix what is, by all standards, I think a totally outdated system. Do you do that analysis on an ongoing basis? And how does that work?
I will share that our Central Services Division is constantly looking at that because they don't want to be pouring good money after bad, right? And just continuously having to piecemeal and patchwork these systems. And so I know Jimmy and his team, and he's built up an amazing team there of engineers and highly skilled and qualified staff that are looking at a lot of the mechanical systems that we have in our buildings and trying to find the best way to manage those and if it's needed to replace them. So it is an ongoing iterative process that CSD and our Public Works Division, as well as our Automotive Management Division, are going through and looking at, how do we, essentially stop that process and to your point, like rip everything out and put new in, right?
Is there like a forward-looking sort of prospective list of these are the things?
We have a list. We do have a list of maintenance projects that we try to work through. We've got a limited amount of money that we get through our lump sum process. This year we're asking for, you'll see it in the CIP request. It's 30.5 million in lump sum.
Yeah. Let me just before you get too much in the weeds on that, because I know we're short on time. If I could just I'd love to follow up on that. But the second thing I was going to ask is, and I don't mean to single out DAGs by any stretch. I think across Hawaii, at least in my experience and based on, I think, some of the public feedback we get, whether it's the counties or the state or whatever agency of the state, our public facilities just in general tend to be somewhat inferior to those of our counterparts in other states, in the mainland, other places. If you've ever been to like a public park in anywhere else, or public facilities and buildings or schools. And I think that's not anybody's fault. I don't single anybody out. I think it's a question of what standards we're using and all of that collectively. So my question is going to be, because I don't think ultimately, people here in Hawaii are any less deserving than those in California or Texas or Minnesota or wherever else. But my question is, as we sort of rethink these broader issues and the funding that we're putting into a lot of these facilities, are you guys open to kind of collecting some of the stakeholders, or maybe in concert with the chair and whichever other relevant people are available, and actually going to meet those folks and figure out how these other places actually do this well? Because obviously they can. And I think there's probably some lessons to be learned there.
Yeah, we would love to be a part of that discussion. I'm always open to looking at best practices from other places and not reinventing the wheel. So we would definitely be interested in supporting that effort.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Senator Favela.
Just like talk about your overview on, I guess, page 9 in paragraph 3. Well, pretty much the whole page 9. You're talking about you had about 550 days on permits delays on funds like CIPs, like for OCCC, $1 billion. We're even talking about the stadium.
Engage,
Oh, I thought that was the alarm I was waiting for.
She's just making a point.
Oh, we just fix it.
She's just making a point.
My concern is, and I know I had these talks with you, a lot of our state projects is that we are held hostage to our counterparts in the city. And I brought this up before with you and Ed and some of my colleagues here. For state projects, I think we should look into doing our own state permitting project permitting, because again, even like the road in Waiwa, I think, and North Shore, right? All the delays on permits cost the project twice or maybe even more. And how I know that is because when I talked to Ed about my Fort Weaver Road widening and connectivity, we had to take some of the money from some districts to put in for the districts that needed to get things done, like in Kahuku, the Pali and all that. But permitting, you guys stated here in your paragraph in page 9 that you guys have 550 calendar days that is delayed for you guys projects. How are you guys gonna get it moving and not worrying about the money lapsing? Especially with projects like we have $1 billion for OCCC, who probably need 20 billion to actually fix the place. But how are we going to expedite these things if we always are tied up with the permitting department?
Yeah, I will say that I know that our public works division, construction management operations are constantly looking at, how to, or our planning, I should say our planning branch operations is constantly looking at ways to ensure that we can, as efficiently as possible, get these permits through the system. It's not that the county permitting system is not within our control, right? As you know. So we need to look at, what mechanisms exist within, as an example, the city and county that would allow us to move forward with projects while we're simultaneously requesting the permit. Right? They have these what's called courtesy inspections that can be ordered depending on where you are in the project, which means that, although the permit hasn't been issued, you can still move forward with the project, but you are subject to these inspections that need to occur along the way. And so there is that mechanism that we've utilized. But to your point, if there's a way that we can avoid having to be in permit purgatory for 550 days, we want to explore that, quite frankly, because it's becoming worse and it is costing money.
The reason why I bring that up, I know DOE had done some of the projects, especially in my community.
Yeah.
They expedited it and they went ahead and did it. But again, if it comes back that the city doesn't really care for what had happened, it costs more money to fix it or try to get around it. Like I give you guys a great example, okay? My school, we'll talk about my football stadium, the permitting process, okay? Waiting for the permits, delayed, costs more money, right? And thanks to my colleagues, I got a lot of money to try to get that stadium completed. They do, city now, do an inspection, tells my school, who's 3,000 plus students, that they're only gonna give us 600 spectator side bleachers. Because the parking lot doesn't consist in that. Even though they took away 1,200 seating in the Sabre zone by the end zone. So that's what I'm saying. It caused turmoil. I just give you my example because I go to the meetings. It put delays on these projects that needs to be ahead and to have again now, like 2000 or 2000 and something they made on Google. All new stadiums is going to fall within that criteria, but it shouldn't fall into a criteria because that's not law. Again, we're going to what the city is recommend, what the state should need, when they never came to my school and see that none of our kids can fit in the gym, none of our kids can fit in the stadium. We don't have enough room. So to tell us that we're only going to have 600 spectator side, not the 1,500 that we needed, because supposed to get 3,000 plus seating because of parking lots. Okay, now again, I'll give you this. Our schools was made for walking, events, everything, school, not for parking. It wasn't to take 3,000 parking stalls to have our spectators. But again, like I said, I talked to my colleagues and I talked to Ed. Ed said within his department, he has the engineers, if we pass one bill to put the permitting parking, because our schools right now in our districts, in Ever Beach.
I think we had a bill last year.
Yeah, that's still not way, but never
House Bill 751.
never do.
I mean, we would be open to trying to find a solution. If Ed and his team are willing to be the state permitting, department essentially, then, I think we would be, and there's a law that directs that. Let's try it. I mean, I think we gotta do whatever we can to try to expedite that entire process.
761 from last year.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's something we should explore.
Bill too, I don't want to.
Yeah, so it basically says that as long as we comply with state laws and county laws,
Yes.
you don't need the permit for state facilities.
So were you able to?
Okay, from Eva to Hilo. Table 15, CIP, you do have the Hawaii State Archives, new facility for Oahu. Have you gotten message from DLNR Hilo? We finally got a site that we're moving to take care of the archives building at KIAA, the industrial area, that this committee 4 or 5 years ago was stunned to see the archives building in Hilo in such dismay.
No. That's two different. SHPT archive and their thing are different than DAG's archive.
I'm sorry, Senator. Yeah, we don't have an archives
you can
facility on Hawaii.
Yeah, DLNR is next at 12.
Okay.
My apologies.
Sorry, I see your archives new facility.
No, yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at my administrator going, do I not know about?
No. You're talking about
Facility in
the SHPT building. Yeah.
Okay. and
Sorry,
that's the
Senator.
Archives section.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Senator.
We have 10 minutes before DLNR.
Okay, just real fast,
Sure.
HB 761, the chair's talking about.
Okay.
Have you looked at that and can you look at that to see if it will accomplish what we're talking
I'll
about?
check it out.
Expediting the permitting.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Yes,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair.
did you folks, one second, Waikia High School, and you visited, and I think your staff did, with that one building that was ready to fall down, Building C. What happened with that? Because that was
Mhm.
neighbor island schools are under your jurisdiction.
Thank you for that question, Senator. As you know, we do have district offices on Hawaii Island, one in Hilo and one in Kona. And they are responsible for carrying out the service level agreement that we have between the DOE and DAGs. And so that's for,
Intermediate, can you
I-
just send me information what?
I will ask the DOE for that information
Okay.
and I'll get it over to you, to your office, Senator. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Senator. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No questions? Okay, adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, calling to order the Joint Committee on Ways and Means and Water, Land, Culture and Arts. So this afternoon, we'll hear from the Department of Land and Natural Resources, who will present their supplemental budget request. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, chairs, members of the committees. My name is Ryan Kanakole. I'm the first deputy for the Department of Land and Natural Resources. I am acting on behalf of Chair Don Chang. Mahalo for the opportunity to present DLNR's FY 2027 supplemental budget request. Behind me are the administrators. We have Lauren Yasaka from Land Division, Michael Kane from OTCL, Mike Imanaka from Bureau of Conveyances, Dina Lau from Engineering Division, Brian Nielsen from DAR, David Smith from DOFA, Kira Kahahane from Seaworm, Jason Radula from DoCare, Megan Stotson Tatashima from DOBOR, Jessica Puff from SHIPTI, Alan Carpenter from State Parks, as well as our administrative officers, Cynthia Gomez from Administrative Services Office, Lila Los from IT, Alice Shitty from Human Resources, and Andrew Lawrence from Comms, our communications. So our presentation is broken up by program ID. So we'll go through the highlights from past year's accomplishments. I'm going to fly through the slides on that, and then we can go on to the requests, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in FY 2025, we conducted 179 recruitments and filled 162 positions. We're improving our timelines through our delegated recruitment process, as well as using Operation Hire Hawai'i. I do want to note that our 25% vacancy rate includes positions that have not yet been established, but our current vacancy rate for the positions that we can fill is actually at 16%. So we're back to pre-COVID levels. For Land Division, in 2025, the division completed the demolition of the vacant Uncle Billy's Hotel in Hilo. Land Division also secured 9 lease extensions conditioned on the closure of cesspools located on the leased lands. Additionally, on our Act 90 transfers, we completed 5 transfers to DAB of pasture lands and amounting at about 13,000 acres. Sorry about that, I'm skipping through. For CCMAC, our Climate Commission, accomplishments included development of climate action pathways, adopting a working definition of climate equity, and securing funding for a solar energy program manager, which is housed in the Hawaii State Energy Office. For the Bureau of Conveyances, our accomplishments for 2025 is continued rollout of our digitization. Records have been digitized all the way back to the 70s. Another accomplishment at the Bureau is that in Land Court, the backlog on certifications has been reduced by 3 years. For our engineering division, on the CIP side, in 2025, we've implemented over $32 million in CIP and repair and maintenance projects. These included improvements to our small boat harbors, park facility repairs, public safety projects like the rockfall mitigation work at Diamond Head State Park that is pictured on the slide there. Engineering also hosted the 16th Annual Floodplain Manager Conference, which was the first time that we've done so since COVID. It drew 140 attendees from the state, counties, and federal government, as well as the private sector. Finally, engineering assisted the County of Maui on a FEMA-sponsored technical assistance grant to improve dam emergency preparedness, as well as engaged in emergency action plan workshops with the other counties. For DAR, 2025 accomplishments. First, there was advancement of sustainable ocean management. Examples of this would be co-management partnerships in Kipahulu for the community-based fishing area and Maunalua Bay Fisheries Management Area. DAR also continued to protect our marine ecosystems. Just this past week, there was an enforcement action for illegal fishing practices. A $10,000 fine was assessed against commercial fishermen for illegal log lining within state waters. Additionally, DAR has generated $3.9 million through its program, like the Ocean Stewardship Fee, that are assessed on a per-person basis for users of commercial ocean activities. So for the Forestry and Wildlife Division, numerous accomplishments, including planting over 110,000 native plants, as well as building 11,000 miles of fence to protect watersheds. I think that's 13,000 acres or 7,000 acres, additional watershed protection. We've also logged 24,600 hours of volunteer service for our forestry and wildlife program. On LNR 402, last session, there was an establishment for 22 fire positions and establishment of our community fuels reduction program. On the community fuels reduction program, there were 9 grant awardees this past year, totaling about $300,000 or up to $300,000 with our partner, Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. The awardees were Ka'ala Farms on Oahu, Board of Water Supply on Oahu, Hawaii Farmers Union Foundation on Maui, Wailea Property Owners Association, Aina Alliance on Kauai, Hawaii Rangeland Stewardship Foundation on Maui, Hui Aloha Kiholo on Hawaii Island, West Kohala Wildfire Alliance on Hawaii Island, and Kailapa Community Association on Hawaii Island. For LNR 407, our Natural Area Reserves Watershed Program in DOFA, additional accomplishments again was continued work towards our 30 by 30 goal for watershed protection. So we protected an additional 7,000 acres, as I mentioned before. That brings us up to 22% of the goal towards a 30% protection of all watersheds in the state. Oh, sorry. LNR 102, that's our Legacy Lands program. This accomplishment for the past year is 5 land acquisitions totaling approximately 2,700 acres statewide. The acquisitions were on Oahu for the Kekipuka Okalaiwila in District of Ko'olauloa, Hilea District in Ka'u, that was 1,900 acres, Makahanaloa Fishing Association for Kawainui Makai District in South Hilo, and the Kealakekua 1 acre parcel, as well as on East Maui Forest District in Hana, 542 acres. Then for LNR, LNR 804, we serviced over 13,000 recreational hunters last year, and we raised and released 2,000 game birds for statewide for recreational hunting. For CWARM LNR 404, recent work and accomplishments included deep monitor well construction, updating water use plans, as well as development of adaptive aquifer management approaches in Keauhou Aquifer in Kona, West Hawaii. For DoCare, and this is actually a recent highlight. So on January 3rd, we posted for recruitment for 53 positions statewide for our Conservation Resource Officer ones. It took about 4 days to max out on all of our applications. So several days to max out on all applications statewide. For 2 jurisdictions, Big Island and Maui, it only took about several hours till we hit the max. So we have to sift through about 800 applicants. So a huge interest for that program, for the to be CREOs. Anticipated start date for the academy is this summer. For DOBOR, accomplishments included vessel acquisition, as well as harbor system repair statewide and wastewater improvements in He'iakea Harbor on Oahu. For Shipty, last year, key accomplishments is filling 12 key positions, as well as supporting the Lahaina recovery through acquisition and dispersal of federal grants and advancing the statewide preservation plan update. For state parks, the accomplishments for last year included completion of campground design guidelines to be rolled out statewide. That would include ADA compliant guidelines, issuing an RFP for one of our most popular campsites in Malaikahana, as well as opening up a new shaded picnic area and bringing back food trucks to the Diamond Head State Monument. For LNR 906, that's the chair's office and administrative offices. I just want to highlight that our Explore Outdoor Hawaii website received 4 awards and 1 honorable mention in 2025 for creative excellence, visual design, usability, and technical implementation. And that's the summation of our accomplishments. I'd have to go back to go on the request side, or
Yeah.
do you want to?
No, we can stick to the table,
Okay.
but then if you have to refer back to a slide, you can go back.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, so table 6 for us is page 94, I think. No, 95. Oh, 94. Okay.
94 on ours.
You can just start with the first line, the federal fund ceiling adjustment.
For LNR 172.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a $200,000 federal funds adjustment. It's for forestry and wildlife. It's for anticipation of federal grant awards from several federal agencies. Going down the line, did you want me to go by priority or?
You can just go down by the
Okay.
according to how it's outlined on the Excel sheet.
Okay. So for LNR 401, that is also a federal fund ceiling adjustment. Let's see, for $116,466. That one is for our fisheries management division of aquatic resources. This entails reducing $139,500 in regular federal funds and adding $116,466 to the other federal funds bracket to better match an actual mix of the grants that we expect for this year. Going down the line, same thing for LNR 401, Division of Aquatic Resources. That's $11,367. That's a special fund increase to cover a salary upgrade for an existing office assistant position. The OA3 is being reallocated to a higher level office assistant 4 due to increased responsibilities. Next one, LNR 401. This is the establishment of 1 full-time FTE and a special fund increase to cover that position. It's actually a restoration of a position, Program Specialist 5, that was previously eliminated. This program is intended to oversee our new non-resident recreational fishing license program, as well as the ocean stewardship user fee, as well as managing the commercial fishing license programs.
So when did that start?
The
non-resident.
The non-resident recreational fee is going to be rolled out this year, right, Brian?
So the non-resident has a higher fee.
Right.
The non-resident fishing license rolled out last year, so we've already been collecting revenue on that. And I didn't catch the second question.
Their fee is higher than the local.
There is no local fee, so this is non-resident fee.
Okay. So how much do they charge?
So it's $20 a day. I think it's something like 40 for a week and 70 for a year. I may be off on some of those numbers, but a daily is $20 for a month.
Yeah. Seems kind of low, but
testing the market right now.
Okay.
Going down the line, LNR 402. That's a Forestry and Wildlife, Native Resources and Fire Protection Program. Let's see. These are federal funds adjustments, two of them.
And this is for just anticipated grants.
Yes, same thing. 850 in federal funds and then 5.5 million in other federal funds.
And you know how you guys are going to spend the money.
5.5 million.
No,
The fourth two adjustment.
Oh, yeah, this is the federal federal funding, federal grant adjustments. I'm not sure exactly which one that is. I think it's Pittman Rock. Oh, no. No, I'm not sure. I'd have to check on the exact grants those are, but they're federal grants we got in.
Is it the same pipeline of work that's being done that's currently?
And, you know, the federal grant money's coming in. We got a lot of money coming in. I think one of them might be for America the Beautiful. It's for birds, it's for the endangered forest bird work and mosquitoes. Mosquito suppression associated with that.
you got to speak in the mic.
Sorry. Yeah, David Smith, Administrator, Division of Forestry and Wildlife. So I believe this funding here is the America the Beautiful funding that is coming in, and a lot of that is being applied to endangered forest bird management.
So I just was wondering if you had a plan to spend this money.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's him.
Yeah, that's all of us. Okay.
You have a plan to bless him?
Okay, then what about the 6 positions?
Yeah, so
Yeah, the 6 positions is
It's a grant too.
that's the Pittman Robertson grant.
yeah, it's establishing for Pittman Robertson, so it's half. So it's 6.6 at 0.5, 6.5 from the game and non-game side. So it gives you 6 positions that can work on the Pittman Robertson
but it's
wildlife program.
okay. So it's really 3 positions, but it's
No, it's 6.
It's
Oh, well.
half FTEs divided. It's 3 FTE equivalent, but it's divided between 6 on 0.5 FTE each.
Yeah, no, if you look at the chart, if you look at positions temporary,
There's the 6. Well, so 402 has 6 at 0.5.
Yeah.
And 804 has 6 at 0.5. So part of it's coming from the game, half
No,
from
no.
game, half from non-game.
Yeah, I get that. It's just your chart shows 3.
Yeah, it gets split on here because they're not together. But it is half. So it's 6 positions total, half of it game, half of it non-game, out of the same grant.
Okay, so is this accurate?
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Yep.
So they
That
on
it
page
it ends up being 3 full-time positions, but 6 half-time positions. But it says here 3.
Because it's 0.5 Cynthia Gomez, ASO. From LNR 402, it's 3 positions, the total 0.5
Yeah.
of the 6, and then the other 0.5 is coming from LNR 804. So total in all of the 2 is 6 positions.
Okay.
From the same grant.
Okay, it's down it's on the next page, the other
Yes.
3. Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah, okay.
taken out of last line on 24 as well as last line on 26, and those are equivalent to the 6 positions that are being funded by the 2 sources.
Okay. It's 35A and 35B, but you have 35B first because of the program ID.
Yes.
And that's one.
Well, it's 3 positions in one program ID and 3 positions in another program ID. Okay. Okay, the
Went to
MOF, yeah.
on 402. Yeah, this is for our Forester 5 position. changing the means of financing for 0.5 FTE from other federal grants to general funds for the Forester 5, reducing 71,586 in other federal funds and transferring over $44,910 in general funds from other current expenses to personal services. The Forester 5 position is part of our fire management program and is currently being paid through a federal grant, but those duties go beyond the grant scope.
Oh, so it's not that the grant ended.
No.
The duties of the position are much greater than what's the grant's going to pay for.
Correct.
Okay.
And I don't think we can cover the other half of the salary with the grant money for that.
For the
For
other
those duties,
duties. So the feds pay for half and we pay for half.
Exactly.
Okay.
402.
So those two are together.
These two are together.
And then the federal fund ceiling adjustment.
This is for 407. That's our watershed program, also DOFA. Federal fund increase for anticipated grant awards. And then going down,
But
there's
do you guys apply for these grants? Or do they are just automatic?
No, we apply for it.
Okay, so when you apply for them, you have the watersheds you want to put money
Yeah,
toward.
we have specific grant proposals that we apply for the funds and then we get the funds in.
And then when you get the money, it can only be used for what you applied for, or is it a little flexible?
Yeah, it goes to whatever the grant proposal was.
Okay.
And then the Department Priority 2A is also in LNR 407. That's for 15 unbudgeted positions. These are federally funded. They're supported by $1.5 million in federal funds. We're converting from 15 unbudgeted federally funded positions and making them budgeted. These positions are already filled and paid through, I believe, the Readiness Environmental Protection Integration Program. That's a DoD grant, REPI funds. And they're mostly natural resource management specialists.
So these are filled positions?
These are filled positions. Right?
So are you getting federal monies for this?
Yes.
Is this a match? with
Yeah.
federal?
These are just federal monies from awarded from the Department of Defense in the REPI program.
On the federal side, notwithstanding some of the uncertainty, has there been any signal as to where this is going?
On the REPI program
Yeah.
itself, I don't think I haven't heard anything that's gonna go away or even diminish.
Yeah, Repi looks pretty solid right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
LNR 801. So for LNR 801, that is Dobor. Thanks, Dave. So LNR 801, let's see, number 5. That is $250,000 to purchase vehicles, really to replace aging vehicles that we have that are over about a decade old.
So
Going down,
ceiling fund increase.
ceiling funding increase. Same thing for number 6 on LNR 801. Ceiling fund increased for a new vessel acquisition. I believe we're citing that vessel on Big Island.
Okay.
Also LNR 801 ceiling fund increase. This is for deferred maintenance, so it would be statewide small boat harbors repairs and maintenance. $5 million increase. Going down to LNR 804. is our forest and outdoor recreation program. Ceiling fund adjustment again for anticipated grant awards. Next one, priority 35A. That's for it says adding 3 positions, and that's what we just talked about. The split between
Yeah.
the 6 positions. On the next page for 806, that's our state parks. Priority number 4A. So this one, let's see. This one would be transferring over 1.646 million from our current expense budget into personal costs to hire 27 new park positions. Those would include those range from park caretaker, which is about 14 of those positions, to park interpretive specialists, trail and access specialists, truck drivers, planners, engineers, park maintenance supervisor, heavy equipment operator, botanist, and interpretive specialists. This would be deployed statewide.
So what's the impact of the reduction to OCE?
Thank you, Senator. So we are going to offset this with our robust special fund, right? So some of the money from operating fund, general funds that we have used for operations will cover it with special funds. And that this 1.6 will be more than covered by the 4 additional fee parks we just put out starting this month. We anticipate we'll increase our revenue by about 3 million. So we'll end up.
This is a funding request. Wait, you're gonna transfer general fund money from your OCE over to positions.
Yes.
Yes. But we're not asking for any additional funds. Right? We'll
Yeah.
cover that shortfall with our own special funds paying for the
No,
operation.
so why not just do the opposite?
Meaning what? Special funded positions?
Yeah.
If we must, we will. We prefer general funded for stability and to not have to pay the fringe, but
That makes sure that you work, that the fund, that we can get revenue from the parks to pay for the positions.
I think the strategy for in the near term is to get through all deferred maintenance, increase infrastructure by using the special fund that we have.
Yeah.
And then eventually we can onboard the capacity.
The strategy should be, because you have so many parks, to actually eliminate and reduce general fund and have almost as much as possible, and then general fund can match, so that there's some motivation to make sure that the parks are revenue generating.
And the special funds would be much faster process, right?
Yes.
If the need is there.
Because hopefully you end up with enough special funds that you can pay for operations and then even do additional land acquisition for additional parks.
Which we have on our CIP right now.
But from special fund.
Yeah. No, geo
Oh, yeah,
bond.
that's the whole point, right? So you want to try to get revenue from special funds.
and our special fund revenue is robust right now. We're taking in more than we're spending. So we do need to reinvest all of that. If
How
you
much, what's the difference then?
think we are taking in 25 and
25.
25 mil.
Yeah.
And I think our ceiling is 31.
And how much are you spending?
I'll tell you at the end of this fiscal year, but hopefully very close to that 30.
After the rollout this year on is it the 3 parks you're talking about?
4.
Or
Yeah.
4? Is there a trajectory for what's happening the year after that or the year after that? Are there going to be another round?
I don't think we have an endless number of parks that we can keep rolling out and also expect to gain additional revenue from, right? So some of the parks that are a little more locally attended, don't have the high visitor numbers because we don't charge residents, could end up even costing us or having much smaller revenues, right? We targeted the big ticket ones first, right? The Diamond Heads, the EAL Valleys, and those are making the lion's share, right? So Diamond Head in and of itself, 5.6 million, but these 4 parks that we are rolling out will maybe top out at 3 million total, right? So not every park has the capacity. Not every park needs the additional management that is the secondary benefit to rolling them out. But I think the additional management is the key to it all. Quality of experience for the visitor.
Yeah, but the improvements to a certain park could make it usable.
True. Yeah, and that is the money is intended to be reinvested into the facilities, right? Which are
because who determines now? Yes, this is a park that we can generate revenue from with either additional accommodations or activities, or no, we're not doing it. Who does that?
We do at parks, and then we present my property management team and admin, and we present it to the board for approvals, and we've rolled them out a few at a time, right? So 4 new ones this year, and we'll continue to look at which ones. And
so you didn't hire like a consultant that actually knows
park
development.
We solicit proposals from professional parking management companies, and they do the analysis, and then they tell us what they think they'll make, what their costs are going to be, and we present that to the board, right?
Yeah, so you have those documents.
I do.
Okay, can you send them to us?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was gonna say, on that point, for some of the more popular diamond heads and so forth, is the cap on realistic revenue based on a choke point on access, or is it just overall saturation, visitors? Like, what is it that kind of limits and decides that?
That's a good question. So Diamond Head has almost the same visitation as it does today as it did before we rolled out the reservation system. The problem before the reservation system was everybody wanted to be there between 8 and 10 a.m. And so you'd have traffic backing up, you'd have a line of ants going up and people packed like sardines in the pedestrian tunnel. It was a terrible experience. And then those who couldn't get into the park early would go find something else to do, and then it'd be empty in the afternoon. What the reservation system has done is basically we accommodate the same number of people, right? But we spread them out because we have time slots, both for vehicle entry and for walk-in entry. And so everybody who comes in basically has the same quality of experience, whether it's 8 a.m. or 5 p.m. And it's a much more serene experience for those who make it in.
I think to the chair's point, the one thing that we've seen some other states do in kind of specific situations like this is, I mean, Diamond Head's an up and back, right? It's one trail, you're passing everybody, and there's capacity issues with that. But actually investing the resources to make it a loop where now you can cycle twice as many people through while maintaining the same level of experience and not feeling like a bunch of sardines packed in means ultimately twice the revenue.
Right. So to that point, we are looking at expanding the opportunities within the crater, right? The next phase is going to be an interpretive node at Battery Harlow, which is on the outside of the crater. It'll be a separate pedestrian entrance. We're working on soliciting design for that now. So spreading out the uses within the crater instead of that single line, right? You're right. It can both diversify the experience, but also we can allow a few more people in. We are still constrained at Diamond Head because there are multiple agencies, HIEMA, DOD, who control portions of land that we don't have access to yet.
Thanks.
But you only have what? Is it Kihei and Malaika Hana? And then the one that we went to go see in Hana?
For camping.
Yeah, for accommodations.
For reservations?
Yeah.
So Haena, right, was our first one. Haena, Kauai, Diamond Head,
Yeah, Haena.
Iao Valley,
But
and
Diamond Head doesn't have accommodations.
Why not?
Sorry, you're asking me
Like
about
either cabins or
camping.
tents, right?
Hapuna, Wainapanapa has both camping and
Yeah, that's
cabin.
the one we saw.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are redoing the cabins right now at Hapuna on the Big Island. Poli Poli on Maui, way up Mauka. Our most sought after park, let's go to Kauai, Napali Coast, which is hiking and camping. Polihale, Koke'e, all on Kauai.
And always booked.
Always pretty booked.
Yeah,
There's
so
some
that-
seasonality, and especially I think
But generally speaking, booked.
generally speaking, we're pretty booked. And any sort of cabin,
mainly local.
absolutely. Both.
Okay, because the taxpayers, because of the down economy, the more we can provide our taxpayers recreational opportunities, I think that's in our best interest.
I agree.
So that's where and if we can create some revenue opportunity, that's good too. Like you go to some certain beaches, it's overrun with homeless, it's not safe. But hopefully with DLNR's parks, you can have a really good, safe, clean experience. And we have to make sure locals have access to that. So if we can develop more of those type of opportunities, I think that's what we should be doing.
Great segue into what we're doing with camping, right? We just established campsite guidelines. We're now going to we're going to upgrade our campsites across the entire system, one park at a time. We're just putting the finishing touches on a fully ADA compliant site at Keiva. The Koke'e campground will be upgraded. We're about to break ground on that. And this will all be paid for out of the pockets of non-residents, but it's going to upgrade the quality of experience, and residents are the ones who camp. Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to just run this past you because according to what you guys submitted to us, I guess, is this back in September? For the special fund, you mentioned that there's going to probably be, right now there's 31 million encumbered cash balance.
I don't have the number exactly,
sure.
but
Okay.
it's probably pretty close to that. Yeah.
Okay, because last year, in 2025, you had an ending cash balance of 55 million, and you spent 10.1 million of expenditures. So you have encumbrances of 23 million, which leaves a cash balance of almost 32 million. And then next year, you're almost looking at an unencumbered cash balance of 40 million.
Right. So we're bringing it down a little bit now. Part of the issue was we had an artificially low ceiling when we raised our fees, and we started putting that money in the bank. Secondarily, it takes capacity. We have to learn how to spend. But
No, yeah.
we had a windfall of cash. We have no shortage of things to invest it in.
No, but you've learned how to spend. Your first year in 2022 was only 87,000. Now you're spending almost 11 million.
Right. But we're not spending
Okay,
we're spending to our ceiling, which is where we should
like
be.
you've learned how to spend. So, and then projected spending for the next three fiscal years is about 12 million.
Well,
That's what you have.
I believe we would like to spend a lot more than that. I think the parks need it.
Okay, well, maybe you can work it out with the subject matter chair, but according to what you sent us, it's about 12 million projected. And then by year 2028, you have a projected unencumbered cash balance of almost 61 million. So a lot of these investments can come from your own special fund.
That is our intent.
And
right?
then even like these positions, and you have so much money, but yet you're moving all this money around and trying to have general funds cover OC when you're sitting on 31 million. So, okay. I don't know if you're going to get this general fund when you have that much special fund.
A segue on that whole issue. So you're asking for positions, and yet I've noticed in your vacancies, you have, a bunch, let's see, 128 plus, give or take a few positions that have never been filled. Can you explain that? Never been filled. Some of these positions, I don't know, were they created? We gave you these new positions, like in 2023, it's never been filled?
Some of them, I believe, are still pending classification and establishment and therefore have not been filled.
By whom?
So outside of our hands.
And how long?
Depends on which classification. So we have a priority list of what's at DHERD right now. But I think some, for example, state parks, how long have you?
Yeah, so how long has it been sitting at DHERD?
I can give you a timeline, but I know we've been trying. We've been working at it for several years.
Just page 44.
Several years.
Page
Goodness.
44. Page has never been filled. And some of this is like from 2023. And then
Okay.
page before that, I mean, it's just numerous, over 100 of them. I don't know how you can ask for new positions when these positions have never been filled.
Oh, I'm saying the wrong area.
Can you answer that?
No, just change that nameplate, please. No. Same thing here. Same thing here.
Oh, these are,
Yeah, but there's numerous on pages, all sprinkled.
we just recruited for these. So for the, on page 44, that entire page pretty much, there's a mix. So it's majority Creole. So that's this past January's recruitment that we had 800 applicants for. So those are intended to be filled. And then in addition to that, the 402 ones, that's our forestry, forest protection, that's the fire. Those are the 22 established positions that we just got last year. Those are pending classification and establishment. I
But
think we have one that's
before that, 43, there's numerous that was been vacant since 2023. Never filled, never filled, never filled.
Just change the nameplate.
Every single page almost has never filled, never filled.
These are also
Page 40,
forestry.
never filled. From 2022, never filled.
2016.
I just don't understand how you can ask for more positions when we've given you these positions and yes, we gave you the positions, right?
Yes.
Never filled them.
Yeah. To State Parks credit, it's a different, these are other, I don't think these are for state parks, but, and generally also these positions are on like lower pay bands and therefore a little bit harder to recruit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you've asked for them, but you've never filled it. So you're asking us for new positions now, and what, you're not gonna fill it? Yeah. It's like-
yeah.
it's a- It's in every department, not just in one. Every page almost has that, several, more than several. But anyway, I just think how you can justify asking more for positions, and if these positions are hard to fill and the pay is too low, then what are you doing? Are you fixing it? So.
May I? Thank you, Senator. For state parks, I don't know the landscape of the entire department. We have 12 said positions that have never been filled. They are interpretive tech positions. There are rangers, there are field workers, and they are the baseline of any state park system, and they're critically needed to both educate people, keep them safe, etc. When you gave them to us, we made a tough choice, and that was we needed to upgrade them so we could recruit and retain, and that is where they're stuck right now in DHERD. I have one of those positions filled on Kauai. He's the only position that monitors Napali Coast State Park.
Saying that they're not needed, we gave it to you. So.
We just these.
Well, when you asked for it, why didn't you ask it at an elevated level? Why did you ask it at the lower level?
It was not we did not have the series established. We only had the lower level positions that had to happen through DHERD. So, yeah, in hindsight,
What did you gain? You couldn't fill it? You had it, but you couldn't fill it? What did you gain? I mean, to this day,
we're still working for a future, and that's
but we
our
can't do
hope.
the same thing over and over again.
Senator Alice Schutte, DLNR HR officer. So we are working with DHERD on several classifications on creating new ones that address some of the pay issues that we're experiencing, and then also as part of our modernization project. They do take some time, though. We are trying to work with them through site visits and then also through a lot of communication and engagement with the divisions.
Are you getting rid of positions that now that you're modernizing and perhaps we might not need, or you can combine and get rid of positions?
We are looking at upgrading. We're looking at upgrading to address present needs. So what's the reason why, like, for example, state parks may not have filled it at the lower level is because the minimum qualification requirements may change, you know, with any changes that we take with DHERD. So if those changes occur, it could impact the incumbent of the current position. So we just want to be mindful that we're not impacting our current workforce. So that's why, you know, they went the route of trying to upgrade the positions or change the qualifications first. Yeah, so we are working diligently, but we understand your concern.
Appreciate that. And
Thank you.
You know, I can see several positions, over 130 positions.
Yes.
Come on, I mean, something's wrong with that picture.
Yeah.
Chair.
So we'll work through it.
Go ahead.
Yes, on follow-up to Senator Kim's question, so we had a briefing on vacancies yesterday with DHERD. So they're telling us one story, but I'm just curious to know from DLNR's perspective, how long have you been waiting for classification from DHERD from your initial inquiry?
It depends on which one, but.
So in this recent, in what you just provided to the committee and what you just shared.
So I did watch your briefing yesterday, and actually Brenna is accurate.
Yelling at the TV.
No. We want to try to work together, right? Work together for the public. But Brenna is not incorrect, where I think the numbers she gave was 24% or so was with DHERD, right? It was about a quarter. When we looked at our statistics, because we want to be fair, right? If we don't fairly look at the numbers, we cannot address, right? So when we looked at it, we were a little bit below. We were at, I think, 23.34 at whatever time you want to look at it, right? That we're with DHERD. A lot of ours, the backlog is because our positions are positions specific to DLNR. So they're very complicated in the sense of there's no pre-existing possibly classification that exists.
So you mean
Or
office assistant versus a more technical position?
yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So, or we're looking at maybe merging, like in State Parks' case, merging two classes. One is paraprofessional, BU3, one is BU13. We're talking two different salary schedules, two completely different MQs. So how do we bridge that gap without impacting our current workforce? Right? Because it's not like all the positions are vacant. The positions that are there are positions that are going to be impacted that have current incumbents. So we want to try to be mindful of all of that because we don't want to lose anybody, right? In the process as well, because that's not going to help us. So it's a very delicate balance. It is taking longer than, they would like. They've been very generous with their time with offering site visits. I think that has helped. We also acknowledge.
Do you think if you have a timeline
Yeah.
then we can use that money to go back to the general fund until you guys know when you're going to need the money for the position?
So what we've done is we've asked for a time frame with DHERD to see, because like I said, and Ryan mentioned, we have various classification actions out there that are impacting multiple vacancies. So what we're trying to work with them now is to find out what does that time frame look like, right? So that we can better plan from a division level, from my office's level, so that we're allocating our limited resources in the right places. So that's kind of where we're at with them. We have a meeting with them on other things, so I'm happy to follow up with them
So
to get a better time
Let
frame.
me ask you this, the positions you're asking us for, is it properly classified? Or are those positions gonna add to another backlog that you gotta go to DHERD about? So you know what I mean? When you come
Yeah,
in
no,
to
I
us, you gotta
understand.
ask us for the right
Right.
Yeah.
positions and the right
Instead of just adding
classifications.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help you
Yeah.
any.
Yeah.
And then it sits on your books and then we're gonna sweep it.
Yeah.
And these are ones that never had anybody in it. So that's what's boggling my mind. You've asked for it, you've come in, we've given it to you, and yet, so you gotta be correct when you come to us. You cannot think, oh, I'm gonna go reclassify it at DAGS and then at DHERD, and then it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years,
Okay.
right? Because the money's sitting there. Unless you guys took the money and used it for other things, other positions. Have you folks used salary savings, vacancy savings?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
we
know.
have we have offered up salary savings, I know, to other divisions within DLNR, so it doesn't go to waste.
So it's for the year that you didn't hire them. So I mean, a lot of departments do it purposefully. Is that what's going on here? So that you can offer it up to other departments?
I would say no, because we have a huge need, especially on the technician side, on the boots on the ground, people that we're recruiting for. And that's where a lot of the vacancies come from. It's the technicians, it's the laborers, it's
No, but these are new positions that you folks asked for. This isn't the existing positions that somebody quit or whatever.
yes,
right?
but I agree with that. However, on the position that are we just creating these positions to then create vacancy savings and, provide it for the department and other like operating side? No, we need these positions to have more capacity.
Understand.
Yeah.
But then in the process, you kind of delay hiring so you can use the saving. What's going on?
Wait, real quick. So your vacancy savings were used to cover other divisions. And so those other divisions were different program IDs.
Yes.
Can you give us a list of all that, all the vacancy savings and where that?
Well,
money-
they're supposed to, I think they were supposed to get a report, right? When you transfer from one program ID to another.
Yes.
You gotta go up.
You're transferring the funds though.
Because you're not supposed to transfer from one
Yes,
program.
we're not transferring from one program ID to
You
another.
just said it goes from,
He's sharing it, but we're using his LNR.
no.
So
No,
we're not
but if
transferring.
his whole division has one program ID, right? So if you look at the agenda, they're all different. So right now, Parks Administration is LNR 806.
806.
And if Water Resources needs it, that's 404. So that's two program IDs.
Yes. And you can.
So they're all different. So unless he's covering other parks,
Well, actually, just for example, yeah, he has some payroll vacancy savings at the end of the year probably. So what we're doing is he has extra, but then LNR 906, which is admin, we don't have budget for our audit fees. So we are using their extra funds.
you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to go from 806 to 906.
That's transfer.
Because we're not supposed to transfer.
You know, there was a proviso several years ago that allowed the administration to move monies between program IDs, but that proviso was never inserted for several years.
That's right. But we do ask for that vacancy savings to be transferred to others and submitted to BNF, and we get approval to do that.
Okay.
We
Okay,
gotta
we'll
ask-
follow up with
We
BNF.
just don't do it. We get approval
Can you-
with that particular justification, because we have no budget for audit and we do it every year.
Okay, we have the AG opinion, right? Okay, well, we'll give you a copy of the Attorney General opinion about transferring funds.
But basically not transferring from one program ID to another, as in, like the Form 821 to transfer funding, yeah.
Yeah, but if,
So is the loophole where you're just having them spend to pay for the audit out of their program ID?
Well, because it's supposed to be cost allocated too among the divisions, because LNR.
No. The question is, so they're paying for it fully
Not
out of their
fully,
program ID.
if just the ones that were short.
oh,
So the answer is yes, the funding source stays the same.
So it's a loophole then. So you're taking advantage of a loophole by making them pay for it, even though we're saying you really can't transfer, but really you're not following the spirit of the law, which is you cannot move monies.
Gotta come in and ask for it if you don't have money for your audits.
We did,
Well, then you can,
but we got rejected.
so then.
We did.
Yeah, but then, so you can't do it then. Right?
We did, that's exactly.
yeah, but why not, where's the cost
justification.
savings from the program ID that the audit was in? Just take it from there.
906.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that means admin spent too much.
Well, we have a lot to spend for.
Okay.
Lots of programs.
I don't fly anywhere, so it's not.
Yeah, no, see, because part of the problem was you guys consolidated quite a bit. So each division used to have its own HR and, it was somewhat decentralized. So now when you centralized it, and now you're running out of money because you centralized it, you're trying to like take from the divisions for your operations.
So we need
It
to
was
audit them
always
on.
just one program ID for the staff offices.
We need to
No.
audit this.
No, it depends on what was centralized and what wasn't.
Okay, this gotta be
Okay.
cleaned up.
I'll go back to those parks and the vacancies.
But before, can we ask BNF to
Yeah,
give
we'll
us
check with the
plan?
AG on but wait,
Okay.
Wait,
Go
wait.
Back to the vacancies again.
wait, before we go on though, I just want to make sure, put a placeholder. We're still on table 6.
In parks.
The trans,
27. In the table 6.
yeah, yeah. So you had a question related to that in the vacancies.
Well, we were talking about the vacancies for parks. And the issue is, so the issue right now, the vacancies is totaled how many?
I think we have 29.
Okay, going back, what I would like to say is what the chair is saying. If the vacancies and those priorities, I would suggest that the positions that you need immediately, you keep that, but refer back to the other positions, send it back to the general fund.
Yeah.
And when you're ready, so you should prioritize the immediate needs for your certain position vacancies. Then you won't have to, we don't need to see that consistently, for year after year after year.
Yeah, I mean, we did this with COVID. and other natural disasters where we left the position, but we took the money. And in this case, we're in the situation where federal funds are impacting our budget, so we might have to relook at that same strategy.
They don't want us to take the money because they want to use it for pay for their stuff.
Well, there's prioritized, I mean, there's some parks that really need it.
No,
We should prioritize
But
and
but Parks doesn't even need the general fund money because their cash balances, which I sent you guys, is so high. So I'm not even sure why we're
exactly. I think we should be moving on.
okay. What is the next one then? The increase expenditure ceiling.
Sorry. So, increased expenditure, sorry. We were describing Office Assistant 3 to procurement and supply specialists that would support the flood control and dam section, dam safety section. And then moving down the line, same thing for 810, or not the same thing, but same program ID, 810 engineering. That's a ceiling increase to cover BNF's special fund assessment, as well as a small buffer to cover operating budgets for the dam safety section as well.
Okay.
Next line is 906. That's the within Chair's office. That's the Red Hill Water Alliance initiative. And so I believe it was last year there was established the Red Hill Remediation Special Fund. There's no ceiling established for it. So we're seeking a $2 million ceiling.
And that's based on $2 million worth of expenses that you think you're going to have?
Anticipation actually is more based off of the data that we were getting from the type of work that should be involved, whether it be like monitoring, all that, monitoring, research, public education.
So how did you come up with 2 million and how much are you really spending?
So, well, we haven't spent anything out of the
Or
fund
how much
yet.
are you anticipating to spend?
Now, so when we submitted this is before we had that information, and now we're anticipating potentially up to 5.5 million a year would be the cost for the whole scale of what the intent for Water Alliance initiative was. And the expectation is that it wouldn't be just state funds, it would be federal funds as well.
Okay. But then isn't there another pot? How is that going to work? The federal funds will go into the special fund?
There's authorization in the special fund language that would allow it for federal fund deposits.
Okay. But the administration is going to stick with the 2 million.
I mean, I would like to go to 5.5 million. I mean, but it's raising a ceiling with an account that effectively has zero at this point. But yeah, I think we would want 5.5 million, given the data that we
So
have
when are
now.
you getting the federal funds?
We don't know.
Okay.
So do you have a budget on how you're going to spend the money? And do you have?
Yes, we have a working
monitoring
budget for it that
you have
comes out to that
you can
5.5, and we can provide it.
Provide that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that changed from when? Because this was part of the admin budget.
Yes,
So you turned that document in what, November?
November. Keala, when did we update our numbers from 2 million to 5.5?
December.
So literally in the past month.
Okay, so in 1 month you went from 2 million to 5 million in 1 month.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Chair, can I?
Okay, if you can
question?
give us the breakdown on that. Go ahead.
Sorry, it kind of connects because in your presentation, we're talking about groundwater branch. And recently your reporting went from 27% in 2008 to 54% in 2024. So my question is if you're requesting to raise the ceiling or spend as much as $5.5 million, don't you think that our rating of compliance should be better than 54% given what's happened in Red Hill? Do you have a goal that you're looking to accomplish?
Groundwater branch?
It's page 16 of your presentation.
Their PowerPoint.
Yeah, your
Oh.
PowerPoint. Sorry.
I believe that is yeah. That's water resource management. So those are two separate matters. As far as the Red Hill Water Alliance initiative, that's an administratively attached interagency body that's been placed within DLNR as the coordinator. That is specific to only the Red Hill disaster. As far as the groundwater, I'm sorry, I'm looking at page 16. Is it slide 16? Is it LNR 401 or 404? I'm sorry. 404. So I'm not sure whether the compliance issue relates to the water initiative ask. Sorry.
Okay, we can move on. Chair.
Okay, maybe we can follow up.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Oh,
Last one is 906. Let's see. That's a conversion of 3 unbudgeted positions. These are accounted for positions that would support the portfolio of increased federal grants.
okay.
And that's from federal funds. So it'd be funded by, I believe this is REPI as well. Yeah. DOD. Again, to Chair Lee's point or question, as far as the REPI funds go, the Department of Defense, we don't see that going down or going away.
Okay. Any other questions about that? I had a question about table 11. Okay, so I think what we calculated is a total savings of almost 19.5 million from vacancy savings. About 13 million was general fund, 5.4 was special fund, 720,000 federal fund, and about 290,000 of other funds. So you have quite a bit of vacancy savings money. What do you normally do with this? Is this just part of your lapse or
It's part of the lapse. A lot of it is part of the lapse.
how much of it do you use for other expenses?
How much have we used for vacancy savings? I know that we primarily, it's much less than what we've identified here.
We don't use all of our vacancy savings for something else. We leave it and we lapse them.
Okay,
How much are you lapsing?
19 million.
Oh, 19? You're gonna lapse?
13 million general fund. The rest stay in the special funds, I guess.
Chair, for vacancies, can I ask a question?
Yeah, I just had one more. The third one, land agent 4. The position was established in 2022. And then it says it's gonna be May 1st of this year. But the position was never filled for 4 years.
Which program you're talking about?
No,
That's
table
LNR
11.
101. That's in our land division.
That's the question I was going to ask.
So what 4 years? How come?
Hi, Lauren Yasaka, Acting Administrator for the Land Division. Regarding the land agent for position, we're actually currently in recruitment right now. We are working with our HR office. So luckily for those positions, we kind of have a ability to downgrade and then promote from within in that position. So it can actually range from a land agent 1 all the way up to land agent 4. We are currently in recruitment. We have already offered a whole, I want to say we have 3 already we offered for Oahu. 1 was offered for someone on the Big Island, and Maui is currently recruiting 3. The ones for Kauai are still pending at DHERD. They are looking through the applicants and screening currently.
Can I ask with regards to 101.
Okay.
Okay, so what we see in the vacancy report, there's one position. And what, on that first position, what island is that?
This one,
Okay, because Hilo's position, administrator retired, and we were in the process. You interviewed, and Candace, okay, have you guys decided to fill the Hilo position?
yes.
We've,
Okay,
Yes,
you
offered.
did you? Okay,
Yes.
who did it go to?
Candace.
Candace, okay.
Yes.
Okay, for the administrator currently for land division, you have a vacancy, you got 3 vacancies. Okay, so you got Mr. Tsuji's, you
No,
got
but-
Kevin Moore went to DOA, and then
No,
Ian left.
But aren't you in the,
So where are we on that position?
Okay.
So for the land admin,
but she's
Administrator.
acting.
yeah,
So,
so she, Lauren's are acting.
yeah.
Okay,
Um,
you were
for-
number 4, so you're number 1 now. Okay, go ahead.
And this goes towards the need for succession planning and also our request for assistant administrators in other divisions because succession planning is important.
Okay, my understanding as of now, there was nobody, no one has applied. Did some
Yes,
the vacancies, you have applicants now.
for
Yeah.
the number 1 position, the administrative position, we've closed interviews and we've offered. We're working,
Where you interviewing?
I want to say, I mean, as far as the qualifieds go, 5 qualifieds. But
God
but
bless,
that's
because pre-chair Chang, we had none, 0. So I'm glad you had 5 up to now.
5, and that's the qualifieds. And
Okay.
beyond the qualifieds, I mean, there's a huge number of applicants for the position because it pays well. But there's at the administrator level, there's like decades of experience. It's very specialized. So we've closed and we've offered.
Okay, on Kauai, so that's Oahu.
Yes.
On Kauai, the administrator left.
Yes.
And we were hoping that we revisit the salary, so she returns back. Is that what you're talking about?
So for that one, that is the Kauai District Land Agent. To revisit the salary on that one, were you talking about doing something similar that we did for Candace?
Yeah, well, that person on Kauai left, so you had a vacancy.
Yes.
Okay, so in our discussion with the chair, we were hoping, I says, why don't you offer a little more if she left because of the low salary of what she was being paid? So are you gonna fill that position or offer her to maintain the job and retain it? Or you're gonna hire a new person?
We're hoping to actually hire a new person,
Okay.
I believe. Yes.
We haven't put it out for recruitment yet. We're preparing to do so though, that position itself. So
Well, you got a lot of missing administrators for the land division.
Yes, and we're,
And that's very important because it's your highest income generated division. And so I think we need a little more expediency.
yes.
And hopefully the concern is more Oahu land division.
Yep.
I mean, those are important positions because they're income generated.
Yeah, so because we closed the land administrator, the number 1 position, we're moving on to assistant administrator now. So we're rolling out from top to bottom on land division. That's a priority for us.
Senator Favela.
Well, just kind of concerned because nobody talked about this. You have some positions that you never filled since 2008. And conservation, isn't that a kind of important position for the resource officer? Resourcing officer? That's LNR 405, 2008. You're thinking you're gonna fill them on
Yes.
12/31/2026.
Yes, so those Creole positions, the 13 were from a while ago, those positions were established. And then the additional 40 were in the previous 2 fiscal years. Those 53 positions, we went out for recruitment in January. We closed recruitment because there were so many applicants and we're intending to fill those positions and start academy by the summer.
Okay, what I'm saying, so you say you're gonna fill this position this
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
2026. Okay, then the other one over here, 2016, LNR 402 for planner. Never filled. Table 11, page 45.
Page 45, sorry.
Yeah, that's an unfunded.
Is that
Unfunded.
unfunded position?
But you got 19 million in vacancy savings if you can find that.
Oh, yes.
Oh my
Okay, so then
goodness.
you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
But if you're not gonna need it, just
Yeah,
take it off the books. You got 19 million in vacancy savings you can use toward that position.
Then you get 6 over here, LNR 405, 2023. Administrator, then you get one over here that the thing just went open up in 7/1/2025. You want to fill it in 2026. But then you get one above there for the same thing, administration assistant one, you get 3 of them. Says 2023 hasn't been filled, so you guys just gonna fill the one that was vacant in 2025, or you guys are gonna try to fill all those vacancies? Because again, if that administration assistant is an important position, and you know, why is there an urgency to fill that position? But what I like bring up is because Senator Kim always bring this up, yeah. You guys put down the field date. Then next year, says 2023, this was vacant. So every year to now, you guys are showing last year, 2024, last year, so 2025, last year, or before that, 2024, but still not filled. So that's what she always say. You guys just putting that in there because you guys don't like us question you guys because you guys gonna fill the thing. So what if these positions are not filled? What can we do if you guys don't fill these positions on the date that you guys giving us on 10/31/2026? If you guys don't fill it, then we take back the money.
I hope not.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is there's no
Sense of urgency.
yeah, there's no urgency to fill it. But then again, like we just saying, I hear this since I've been here with Senator De La Cruz. We budget the money and then everybody else go tighten their belt. But seems like the part, not you, not just picking on anybody, but just an overview. There is no urgency to do it, but then everybody else in this square building gotta tighten their belt. Yeah, but the departments every year ask for more positions, but they're not filling it. Yeah, so now we're in a crisis that you guys heard on the news and you heard Senator De La Cruz say this at numerous meetings, that we're gonna tell the guys out there that pay the taxes, pay for the department. Hey, we're not gonna give you your tax break now. Sorry,
Never filled.
sorry, we're not gonna give them. And then we get all of this money and all of this money, you guys say you guys not moving around. And I'm not just saying you just so happen to hear. But in general, in every meeting that I sat here with Senator De La Cruz asking the urgencies to fill this department, every time he talked about, we're gonna tell the people out there from the square building, we're not gonna give them what we promised them. And that was our big ticket item last session, telling all our tax constituents that we're gonna save them.
Okay, you got it. Have a sense of urgency.
get
Get
it.
it going. Okay. the
Okay,
question-
sorry, I can't remember if we're on table 6 or table 11, but can I just draw your attention to table 6, please, additions? The ceiling increase, LNR 801. Ceiling increase for small boat harbor repairs. How much currently do you folks have right now? What is the balance?
How many? Oh, in the small, in the boating special fund?
Small boat harbors.
In the boating special fund.
Mm-hmm. It says here, Dobar has an extensive backlog of deferred maintenance projects. Asking to increase the ceiling. How much do you folks have right now? Balance?
For deferred maintenance or in the?
No,
How much do you have, how much money do you have left?
9.
Aloha, Senator. Megan Stats, the administrator for the division.
Thank you. Sorry,
Do
we
you
have
have that?
4.5 million remaining in the accounts.
How much money did you have in December, last month? Was that still 4.5 million?
I would have to check. I don't have that information with me, but I can definitely get you that information.
It's a-
Apologies.
Thank you. The reason I'm raising this concern is because your chair had stated on the record that there was no more money to repair any deferred maintenance. We had a cleanup at the small boat harbor in my district, and I was told there is no money. So now you're telling me that there is money. And so I just want to be clear on the information that I'm getting. Do you folks have current money to repair extensive backlog of deferred maintenance projects?
Well, no, what's your current ceiling?
Our current ceiling is, I believe it's 30.
39.
And so we've been using our boating special fund for projects. We've done in Lahaina, we've done in Ke'ehi, we've done in certain areas. What are the challenges that
Did
we
you use
have?
the whole 39?
No, we definitely have to be fiscally responsible. But if I can answer your question, you're talking about the cleanup in Waianae Small Boat Harbor.
Correct.
That is not under the jurisdiction of LNR 801. That falls under aquatic resources. So that's not under us.
Got it. This would have also included DAR as well. They were a part of this project. So if funds were available from DAR, whether it be from DLNR, whether it be from DOBAR, the fact is Waianae Boat Harbor sits on DLNR property funded by taxpayers. So my question is, in general, is there money to complete the cleanup? And so whether it
Why
comes from
didn't you do what you did with the other ones? You just
Because-
gave the bill to another division.
So the reason that I mentioned that is because I was told there is no money, which is why we had to pursue volunteers. So now you're saying that there is money, so I appreciate that. I will pursue the department again to use these funds to repair extensive deferred maintenance projects at the Waianae Boat Harbor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you, and thanks, Deputy, for being up here. The more you talk, the more questions I develop. I want
Sorry.
to start out by saying the Na'alahele Trail Project.
For everyone.
I want to say the Na'alahele Trail Project in Kohala has worked exceedingly well. We've cut down the rescues by 95%. So I want to compliment you on that. However, now the other side of the coin. I look at the budget, the unencumbered cash balances for parks, and I fought long and hard for Hapuna Beach, and that was a struggle. I have small boat harbor that need emergency repairs right now, and I've been pushing hard on that. This is sounding like in part a employee problem on not having capacity, and what I wanted to highlight, there was a water license that Hawaiian Electric was trying to obtain from DLNR since before 2016. They finally gave up because we could never get this done. It had to do with the hydroelectric in Hilo, Wailuku. I started in county, now I'm at state, still can't get this, and there's only one user of it. Is this all because we don't have the people? And if we don't have the people, do we have to reassign this? Because this is not working.
So the water license is actually with our land division.
I know, I've been through all that.
Yeah.
Been through a couple of administrators, and so we have to take it to auction. Takes 10 years to bring this stuff to fruition.
I think one of the issues particularly with the water licensing is the valuation of those, like when we go out to auction on the valuation side, because we don't have that kind of market in Hawaii, and so we'd be establishing one.
Takes, again, Deputy, I want to back up, 10 years?
I can't make excuses for that 10-year delay, but I do know that do we still have that project on, Lauren?
No, I think they've withdrawn it at this point because kill fight.
Wailuku Hydro? So there's two, right? There's the Pu'ueo, and then there's also Wailuku.
Okay, so Wailuku.
Waiau.
Or Waiau. I
Waiau.
think Waiau I don't have. The only one that I have right now on the books that we're currently preparing to go out to public auction is the Wailuku Hydro, which is for I think it's Hawai'i Electric Company's one.
Yeah.
And that's East Hawaii.
Yes.
East Hawaii.
Hilo.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hilo.
I have no project background, no nothing on why out there. I have not even.
Okay, and I may have misspoken on that. My point on that is that I started in county trying to get this done. I'm now at state and coming on 3 years, still cannot. It shouldn't take that long. We're talking about a very, very, very small license. And it's not even consumptive. It's just borrow the gravity, put the water back. This is problematic for the department because if we can't get this done for that, we're not going to get anything done.
And we apologize and we recognize the urgency, hence the reason why we've moved it
I
up.
do not
this
see the
year.
urgency if it's been 10 years for this.
I understand, but as it landed on my desk, I have raised its urgency. Our plan is to hopefully work on it and get it out this year. I am working closely with Candice from Big Island, and we're gonna get it to public auction.
Okay, I'd like to meet with you later. It'd be the next administrator of the department that I meet with on the same subject.
Okay. Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
Chair.
Secretary Noy.
Yes, can we go to the restrictions area? And I'd like to ask on the first page. in the
Table 7.
For table 7, LNR 401, and that's under the ecosystem protection program. And it does say the impacts, you're reducing operating funds for ecosystem protection, neighbor island projects, commercial and non-commercial fisheries project, as well as mitigation, aquaculture, and restoration projects. Can we have an explanation of why we're restricting that particular one for 2.2 million?
This would be the impact to our Division of Aquatic Resources. So generally, that restriction would impact all of the
Well,
the programs
the
under
previous discussions on another agency, and I think the chair had, was very concerned because under aquaculture itself, it seems like it's gone out of it's floating around somewhere and not as active as it should be. One concern I have right now is the University of Hawaii at Hilo has the aquaculture program in Kilkaha. And we have an interest right now with that particular operation by a private sector. And it's a benefactor who wants to take over. So there is a concern that we have with regards to aquaculture being forgotten, and that should not be a misnomer that aquaculture is not successful. So why are we reducing these programs, as I mentioned?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I believe that's just the across the board 10% restriction that the administration puts on all of our accounts. But to your point about aquaculture, I hear you 100%. We're actually trying to scale up our aquaculture operations at the Hilo facility that you visited last year. We're also partnering with PACRAC as well on some projects to develop aquaculture, and we've been using some federal grant funds and congressional earmarks to scale up those projects. But yeah, we would love to
for
have
the university project, it seems like UH Hilo is very slow with the Kilkaha project. And it was just recently, just a month ago, a benefactor is interested in taking it over. Could we put that get it out of the university system if we have a program of ours under our division to move aquaculture? Because the seedlings right now that they have, it's just amazing. And I'm just concerned that the university is just not doing much.
But you used to permit aquaculture, right? DLNR used to have it, and then it got transferred to DOA.
I think that's correct. And now we
90s, I
we
think.
license, we do aquaculture facility license, but Department of Agriculture, they're the primary on aquaculture these days.
Yeah.
Well, we had several bills to kind of boost up aquaculture, and it kind of
Well, I mean, I don't know if the regulatory component
Like
is
it
worth
died
looking
a lot.
back to DLNR.
Well, we have a lot of interest statewide, and the aquaculture committee has been very active, and they're trying to drum up the activity again out there in the community. There's so much interest in it. Okay. But just a concerning that the 10% needs to change for this particular program.
Thank you, Senator.
And we would support that relief from the restriction because that's the across the board for all of our program IDs that we've
And
have.
it's every agency
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Or just give the bill to another division to pay, like how you guys doing.
And with regards to, well, it's a contract. I was.
Okay,
if
okay,
you're
okay.
going
Senator,
to restrictions.
okay, Senator Elefante.
Yeah, I have a question relating to dole care.
Okay.
So I know you had appropriations for 40 positions. During a hearing that we had yesterday, you guys went out for recruitment. I think you had like over 700 applicants. So where are you in that process in terms of dole care officers? Are you on all 24 hours now and all watches?
No.
And
You need about 530, right? Somewhere around there. To do
530.
24/7,
Yeah.
365 days a year. So that's why the strategy has been either every year or every other year, we try to add money for a new class. So they're about what, 100 something now? 100.
Yes, we're
So we're not even close to
Yeah.
where we gotta be for 3. And then we have to build out substations for them
Right.
too. So they don't have space. So we have to come up with a better strategic plan.
And to answer your question, Senator, so with regard to the 53 positions that we're recruiting for, that just closed literally last week.
Okay.
It took about 4 days to close all the applications statewide. Those applications now electronically are sitting with DHERD for screening. Once they establish the eligibility lists, those lists will be transmitted to us, where we'll execute the other phases of the hiring process, such as the agility testing, interviews, those kinds of things. And
So you get
then,
a chance.
we're hoping that we can get through all of that and get our academy started in early June. It's what we're shooting for right now.
But to Chair Dela Cruz's point, right, on the 500 positions, was that, I know, because we slashed the budget back in 08, 09 during the recession, right? So what's that pre-level funding at 08,
No,
09
So
for that, or is that new?
unfortunately, if you don't mind, I mean,
Yeah.
they didn't have this entry level and academy until like 4 or 5 years ago, right?
That's correct.
So they could only hire retired police officers or retired sheriffs. So it took forever for them to scale up. So now that they have a direct pipeline for entry level and an academy, they're moving faster. But now that they're moving faster, they don't have the infrastructure in place.
Okay.
So it's like chicken and egging this whole thing. But a lot of this came about because the flotillas, right? They couldn't, and they're on the weekends when these guys are only 9 to 5 unless the chair calls them in, right? Something, right? They have to call. She has to call you, or he or she at the time has to call you in for overtime, and then they reduced, or I think diminished at some point, the Marine division, which I think we tried to add. We just added back several years ago because of the people were killing seals. I mean, one of them was killed on Molokai, right? They killed a seal. So we thought, oh, we got to start putting that back. So they're trying to scale up, but they can only do it one class at a time.
That's correct. And just to add to what Senator Dela Cruz just said, right now, statewide, DoCare is operating from about 6 o'clock in the morning to relatively midnight. So we do have night shift officers on duty. If something occurs after hours in the wee hours of the morning, we are able to bring in officers. We are able to keep them on duty if necessary. So we do work both day and night. And I want to dispel any notion that we don't work at night, because we do. We have officers working weekends, holidays, night hours,
No, but
irregular hours.
you don't have enough for 24/7,
That's correct.
365. I mean, you just don't have the staff for that.
That's
So
correct.
they're stretching as much as possible, but we have to keep building capacity.
Yeah. So then my speculation is you'd come in, I guess, in future years for a strategic plan to kind of build that out too.
Well, that's what we asked last year, but so far it's been Ledge Ad that adds 25.
That's correct.
I mean, to just do more than one recruitment class, right? Based on.
Well, they got to work with
capacity.
HCC.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, part of the complications is that we don't have a permanent home for our training academy. So we are looking at the HPU campus acquisition to accommodate for that. Hopefully that goes through. But, you know, part of this is having to find the actual facility and venue to hold the academy. We were using Aloha Stadium, but Aloha Stadium is being demoed, so we have to look elsewhere.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
So I just wanted to ask then real quick about that. So the 21 positions that were appropriated last year, that's part of what you just talked about.
That's correct. You folks gave us 20 Creo positions in FY25, 20 in FY26. The 53 we just recruited for includes those vacancies.
Okay. And so the 4.9 million, that's all encumbered or that's part of the positions?
The funds that you gave us last year
Yeah.
is in support of the academy. So that's the training equipment. That's to pay for the venue itself, to pay for some of the training vendors that we have to hire. And then a lot of that too is travel and per diem expenses.
Oh, neighbor island.
For the neighbor island, as well as the lodging
Yeah.
that we have to
Yeah.
pay for the outer island attendees.
Yeah. But the Marine unit, I thought they were supposed to get new equipment.
Yes, the Marine unit does have new equipment. Some of that is funding you folks provided us. We also have a COPS grant through the U.S. Department of Justice that we just used to buy 2 new boats for the Marine units.
Okay. But I thought there were additional funds to purchase additional boats.
There are, yes.
So are you gonna get that going? Or?
Yes, we are.
You have one already in ask for the Hilo side or Big Island. You have
Ye-
one on budget right now.
We have vessels budgeted, yes. We personal watercraft and small craft.
To ask about that. Okay. Okay, we can follow up then if we have questions.
If, can I ask if,
Docare?
since he's,
Oh, okay.
Docare is here, I'm gonna change the subject. And our newly acting director, the report that we had under Mauna Kea Authority. Okay, and reason I'm bringing this up is that I understand the Attorney General now has declared that the error that I have questioned for the last 2 years, that the conservation land districts should have remained with DLNR and the BLNR. But because of the transfer, the conservation district and Docare were added to the Mauna Kea Authority. So acting director, can we confirm, and I just talked to Attorney General yesterday, and she confirms that the Conservation District must remain with DLNR. So it's off, and I think you made that announcement
Yes.
during WAM's visit when we went to Big Island.
Yes, and I can and to confirm again, yes, the Conservation District Authority over that area is retained by the Illinois.
Okay, with that Act 96, it included the conservation lands and Docare.
Yes.
So has she made a decision what we're going to do with Docare? Because Docare and Conservation District coincides with the law. So did she, the Attorney General, or have
We
you
didn't
guys
get an
decided
opinion.
what we're going to do with Docare out of Mauna Kea Management, put them back under DLNR, BLNR?
No, but the landowner is now Mauna Kea Management Authority.
Yes.
So even though it's conservation lands, it's just
still state
it's
lands.
regulated by DLNR, but it's
Correct.
owned by Mauna Kea Management Authority. So they would have to call in Docare
Yes.
versus you sending them in.
That's correct. So our jurisdiction would still extend over those lands.
Yes. So they can go there, but they have to be called in by the landowner.
Correct.
Okay, in our discussions, and I asked the Attorney General 2 days ago with regards to, because she made a decision that the Conservation District belongs under the Constitution to BLNR and DLNR. And my understanding during our hearing was that we didn't need to change the statute. And she questioned that as well. And she says, I'm not sure. I says, well, we were told that we don't need to change the statute. But she says that's very questionable. So we sent anyway, I think she's looking into it.
No,
as
but the
well.
conservation one, I think, is done.
Yes.
That it's like, you were correct, that's done.
Yeah,
So that one,
okay.
there's no sense. I thought the only change would be,
Don't care.
no, the only change was if Mauna Kea Management Authority took too long, then they reverts back to UH. Because that was the
Yeah.
static position, but it was left out of the bill.
And we have a bill this year, as you guys directed us.
Yeah, because then that was what I think everyone thought they voted on, but somehow that
Sure,
got
we
left out.
missed the Senate. Yeah, we have a bill to revert back to the university. But the question is, where is, dole care?
No, so dole care is there.
We're still,
It's just
yeah,
that
we're still there.
when they
Okay.
need dole care, they had the Mauna Kea Management Authority has to call.
Yes. It's not being unenforced by DoCare. We're still covering that area.
Okay,
Yeah.
very confusing. Bills and acts sometimes signed by governors can bite us later on, and that's what's happening now. Okay.
Okay, you had a
We'll end
question
with
for
that.
Yeah,
dole care?
Jason, thanks. How much resources and manpower is DoCare having to shift to address homelessness? Because in your folks' presentation, you had stated that operations to clear homeless individuals from DLNR lands and facilities and the requirement to ensure compliance with legal guidance such as storage of unclaimed personal property, DoCare is obligated to divert attention, resources, and funding to address this ongoing and repetitive problem. So therefore, you guys are not able to address your administrative responsibilities. Now you folks have shifted over to more traditional police responses. So can you address that on how much
What's your question?
of your labor resources and manpower is having to be diverted?
So frankly, I don't know if I can quantify it, but I can tell you this. Because DLNR manages a lot of facilities and a lot of state land, and homeless people occupy these lands, dealing with homelessness is a very large part of what we do. For example, Diamond Head, because of the large area and the fact that homeless people can access it rather easily, we're at Diamond Head regularly, probably weekly. Out on the west side, in the various areas of unencumbered land, my guys are out there weekly dealing with complaints of illegal occupation, trash, fires, those kinds of things. So I can tell you it's a regular thing, and it does divert from our normal law enforcement responsibilities in dealing with that.
Yeah, so here we are staffing up DoCare. Obviously, you guys do very good with your recruitment and you're able to fill the positions that you need. But so I think the point that I'm trying to make, and thank you for answering, is that the department was created for a specific administrative responsibility where therefore you are not able to address those needs. So now we have a gap in the department because you are addressing more police response, traditional police responses. And so I have a feeling, just projecting down the road, that services are going to be unfulfilled because now you folks have addressed a more important and priority issue. So eventually the public is going to feel the pinch of lack in resources or lack of services because now you folks are spending most of your efforts addressing homeless encampments and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make that for the record because I don't see this as just kind of a now it's one and done kind of a thing. I think this is going to be an ongoing issue until we start really cracking down on homeless encampments on state property. So thank you for that and thank you for what you do. Yeah. Thank you,
But
Chair.
do you go, when you guys go in, is that with DLE or is it just DoCare?
Typically, if it's on our lands and facilities, we go by ourselves.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the bill, I guess it was last year, House Bill 506. So that money, are you guys spending?
So Chair, certainly we need to do a better job on spending that money.
Because it's going to lapse pretty soon.
Yes, sir. I am aware of it. I make no excuses. We need to do a better job on getting that going, and we will be.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure that, because this is like for equipment that you guys need.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Table 15 of moving on. Unless
CIP, oh, that's okay.
Yeah. Table 15 CIP, on your HPU campus, we talked about it earlier in another hearing, but you're asking for 4 million. Is that the total cost? What is that 4 million?
No,
No, that's,
What is-
that supplements what we already gave them.
correct. A lot of that would go towards post-acquisition renovation, planning and design and
That's the
construction.
total
or-
amount you need to finish your renovations? Is that?
No, that would to get started. I believe, you know, the facilities are older and they need a lot of work. We've already planned out where or which divisions would occupy that area. Currently, we're working through due diligence. The acquisition funds themselves have been appropriated. So yeah, this 4 million CIP is, a lot of it has to do with the post-acquisition side of things, because we want to, as soon as we acquire the property, we want to get on the property and start doing renovations as soon as possible.
So the acquisition is completed?
No,
No,
no.
no.
We're
It's
still working on
under
a purchase
negotiation.
and sale agreement.
Yeah, it's still being negotiated.
Correct.
Yeah, because the landowner has certain criteria.
There are conditions on the land that restrict the use of it. And
And-
that, so the holder of the covenant for those uses is not the landowner themselves, it's actually Castle Foundation. They have the say on what is the allowed use for the property. And to complicate the matter, so Adventist Health is actually the landowner. So we have to deal with two parties instead of, in your traditional sense, one seller.
Yeah,
So are you resolving that?
We're working on it right now.
yeah. That's why Department of Health can't use it, because the Casa Foundation says it doesn't meet their criteria.
So how far, what is the timeline in terms of what your negotiations so that you can complete the acquisition?
So if we were to,
I think she wants to know, are you gonna do it in time with the 4 million, or is the 4 million gonna be wasted if we don't end up doing it in time?
as far as acquisition timelines go, if we can get through due diligence and execute the PSA, that would give us a 1 year. So it would put us out a year on to close. I'm hoping that we would get the PSA done like in the first half of this year. So that's 1.5 years. And then we could roll out, well, at post-closing, roll out immediately.
Okay, do you
into the
think you'll get a
renovation.
better idea by conference?
Probably yes, because we've been working with Adventist Health Council now.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
You can provide information as you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I follow up on the next page on the left side. Can we go over the two lapses here? What's the BNF adjustment justification here? And what does that mean for
16, this
the
is your
programs?
Wells one.
The deep monitor well,
The what?
You have
Well,
two, the deep monitor well statewide,
I don't know.
and then the Waimanalo pathways.
For the lapse. Yeah, so this is funding that we actually have a contract
You can just state your name.
for the WAM-GVO deep monitor one.
Yeah. But this,
Mm-hmm.
it's a BNF investment.
Yeah.
Name for the record.
Yeah, so, hi, Deputy Director Kira Kahahane, Commission on Water Resource Management. This money was taken back by BNF. This was our fiscal year 25 CIP. We have plans, concrete plans to spend this on a deep monitor well sited in Wai'anae. So BNF, I believe we were not the only ones. There was a few divisions and departments.
Yeah, so what's the
that-
difference between a BNF adjustment and a restriction? It's just
I would-
however they feel that day, you know,
Exactly.
nobody knows. Because this says BNF adjustment.
We were just told, we requested for the release of the funds, but we were just told that they will not release the money this year, and we should just include it in our this year's budget request. That's all the explanation we got from them.
So our request went out. It went into BNF's court and then it stayed.
Okay, can you send the original request to BNF on both items to us? Thank you. You want to check?
Yeah, just on the second one, was it the same situation?
Same.
Yeah.
And are they looking at, when you're getting these things from BNF, are they looking at the criteria or merits or substance of some of these?
That might be a question for BNF.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is for the hold up on those.
Okay. Well, I'll throw it out there. This one in particular, and the second one was because 100% of the students in Waimanalo that go to high school, public high school, actually do so in Kailua. It's the only way they can get from A to B is walking down the side of the highway. And at least since I've been elected, multiple kids have been killed in that space. And this was to do a project to give them a safe way to get around, but it has to go through DLNR property because there's not a lot of space. So obviously, the next time there's a fatality, then that's pretty serious outcome if project doesn't go.
And the deep monitor wells was Waianae and where?
This is just Waianae.
Oh, only,
2 million is roughly enough to do one well.
and that would support what? Why does it say statewide then?
We generally will apply for deep monitor wells statewide because of the way that our contracting is done by our engineering division. So we might split that 2 million across multiple wells. They phase projects sometimes by doing the design.
But in
and
this case,
In this case, it's pretty much all going to Waianae.
and if this was developed, what would the result be?
So the result is just a better understanding of how much groundwater is available in Waianae generally. It is the only part of our island, the Waianae aquifer sector, that is not designated as a groundwater management area. And actually, last year, the commission took action to move forward with a petition filed by our Honolulu Board of Water Supply to designate Waianae as a groundwater management area. So having the information from this deep monitor well would help us make better decisions if that designation actually goes through. And just to understand, what the health of the aquifer is generally.
Wow. No, they've restricted it. That's where we're at.
And we're asking for it again this
No,
year.
so they've asked for the release, but BNF said they can't spend it.
Sorry.
Mm.
Yeah.
But why do they have a fund?
And for deep monitor wells?
They both,
Yeah, both are in A funds.
oh,
Okay. That was an oddity of the fiscal year
The
25.
2024 appropriation year.
Yes.
oh, okay. Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Sure. Just on you guys, who monitors you guys, active, contracts for the department? Because you get, some of them is active contract, it ended 2020, was 2019 and ended, to 2020. Some of it is at 2019 to 2022. Who monitors you guys? It's on, page 100, because you guys get active contracts from page 51 to 117. So I just wanted to know, who's, on it. This is table 14,
Table 14. So it depends on,
page 100.
it depends on the type of contract. If
Oh,
it's
wow.
a CIP related contract, monitoring is with our engineering division. If it's other types of service contracts, those are with the respective divisions that contract for the work. So if it's like up in the forest, it's our DOFA folks and that kind of thing.
Oh, my canal. Improvements, why?
Yeah, just like follow up, since we're talking about you guys losing the money for that. Checking that water in the Waianae area, is it to check the quality? Or somebody's looking into trying to develop in the area and seeing how much water they have? So they can look in developing big development on the Waianae coast?
129.
So, like,
128.
to answer your question, Senator, it's not for any specific reason. When commission staff looks at where we're going to site deep monitor wells, we look at a number of different things like the estimated population growth in the area, how complex the geology is, what the level of pumping is for that aquifer, because we govern based on sustainable yield. So sustainable yield is a rough estimate of how much get in the aquifer. So if pumping is coming close to sustainable yield, that's when we might flag an aquifer as a potential for further study and for siting a deep monitor well.
So who's monitoring the Uli aquifer wells?
So those wells, like all other groundwater within the state, would fall under the commission's jurisdiction. And if you have specific questions about
Yeah,
availability.
the reason why is because they're still developing and get one water park over there, they're using 2 million gallons a year of fresh water. And we was told before that park was built, and the development wasn't gonna have enough water for whole Pili and the rest of the development in the region. But then now we have a water park that is consistently using fresh water, drinking water from the Honolulu aquifer. So again, I just wanted to know who monitors, if you guys are, and how much more water do we have in aquifer?
So I don't have that answer for you right now,
Yeah,
but
no,
I would be able to provide you a report.
Please, because I want to know, because they want to open up and expand using fresh water. And I talked to the water supply and they couldn't because there is no law of them restricting, even though it was in a water crisis, they couldn't restrict them from using the water that was meant for use for hotel and other stuff, not for recreation. So my point is that here we are now, not having enough water. You guys gonna do that, which is great. But then we're using 2 million gallons a year of evaporation of fresh drinking water. That is concerning. So I just wanted to know if that was any, and you don't need to give me that now, but was it ever a concern to you guys when you guys know that, maybe you guys didn't know, that they was gonna use the Honolulu aquifer to further their water project when it was supposed to be for development, not for recreation? And I should know because I was on the neighborhood board. But they did this under the blindness of COVID when they opened this up. So it's 2 million gallons to fill up 1 million gallons every year evaporates. That's a lot of drinking water. Yeah, if we say that's precious to us, we need somebody to monitor them or even given a example to let us know how we can make these guys stop using that kind of water in our area.
I absolutely understand and appreciate your concern, Senator.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe you should do a reso urging the commission to do that, right? Wouldn't you need something like that? Or are you guys just gonna work it out, or
Well,
how much would that cost? What he's talking about?
I'm not exactly sure of as far as cost. Where I'm thinking is mainly sorting out regulatory jurisdiction, because Honolulu Board of Water Supply does have water use permits from us. So it would be related to the conditions of the water use permits that Board of Water Supply has, if that park is indeed connected to their system.
Yeah, but sounds like he also wants to make sure that the aquifer itself is sustainable.
Mhm. Yeah, so
that sounds much larger than that.
if we're talking about another
And
deep
then
monitor well.
the life.
Yeah, so we could do, we could try to scope a study perhaps with someone like US Geological Survey to prepare a model for that aquifer, but I want to be sure before I agree to
Okay,
something like that,
okay,
you know,
yeah.
if it's not duplicative of work that's already been done.
Let me know, like Senator said, maybe I make a reso again, work with you.
And then at least he knows the vehicle, like, of how to
Please.
get the process started.
Yes,
Thank
we could
you.
do that.
Senator
Thank you.
Noy,
Yes,
Thank you, Chair.
you want?
can we go, well, we're still in contracts, with regards to LNR 141, and has to do with engineering, if somebody from engineering can come up with regards to the Upolu, well that we developed.
Hi, Senator. I'm Dina Lau with the Engineering Division, but may I ask Jason to also come up?
Yeah, and the question is, why I'm bringing this up is because we've already developed, and thanks to Engineering Division, you guys did a hell of a job trying to create water systems for new agriculture activity in North Kohala when it was in my district. So with the Isemoto contractor, in our discussions a couple of days ago with regards to agriculture, and we're encouraging DOA to start working on creating farm lots. And so I think when we developed this program, this project, a CIP project that we did, not from DOA's funding, but from the money committees in both houses, close to $8-9 million. So the final stage, I understand, is are the tanks already going in the final with Isemoto contractor? And reason I'm mentioning it is because DOA isn't familiar, with this project. But I did tell them, you know what, the previous DOA director signed on to have for us to get the USGS well. And so because it had to be an agency who will operate the water system, the water wells will be DOA. So where are we? Are we ready to finalize? Is Isimoto almost done with the water tanks? Because I think that was the final stage.
Yeah, I believe so. I need to check I'm Jason Ching, project management.
So you took over,
Branch.
Cardi?
No,
Okay.
Dina's acting.
Dina is acting.
Oh, Dina, oh, congratulations.
I'm just a project
But
management branch.
you guys are doing super job. Okay.
Yeah, so it's what our construction inspection section right now, and I didn't follow up, but recently, like you said, pretty much what he's communicating with me early on. And I haven't followed up if they completed it yet or
Well, it's
close to it, but
important because
Yeah.
with North Kohala and our, my colleague over here who we encouraged to take over my district work, but providing agriculture activity and because of the fallout of the Kohala ditch, we created this new water area on Opolo Road. And so DOA, and we're telling DOA, they have not created farm egg lots for many, many years. And so we got the water system going, we paid for it already, and you guys got the money, let's finalize it as quickly as possible and have a DOA on it.
What's the timeline on the completion of the project?
they had a late start, was trying to obtain the building permit from the Hawaii County. And then once that was received, our contractors readily started right away.
So when
They had
is-
all the material on site.
Yeah, when is it going to be
And
done?
I think it's been only about 6 months or so.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it says from that last year to March 24, 2026. I don't know who put that
Yeah.
That
date.
is correct.
So that's the
On
completion
budget,
date?
Yes.
That's a completion
Yeah, I
time.
think they're on target. I mean,
Okay.
they haven't stopped.
Okay,
or-
can you check? Because I'm not sure. If we can figure out the completion date of the construction project, then the next step would be
Turnover.
turnover. And so that's where I think we gotta figure out how to get DOA on board so that we can actually do the transfer.
Correct, yes. So I'll follow up and get the information to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Senator DeGoy.
Deputy, has DOBAR hired a legal fellow yet?
Not right now. So we lost our legal fellow several months back, and that has put a stall on a lot of the administrative rules drafting. And I don't status on
Yeah,
hiring-
exactly.
did we hire
Megan?
somebody else? No. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Is there any way to work with the AG's office on this? Because one of the projects is in my district and it's been in the pipeline for more than a couple months, actually over a year. So is there any way to work with the AG's office on that?
So yeah, our legal fellows, I think, well, AG's office, I think it's a capacity issue for the drafting, and typically the departments themselves shoulder a lot of the burden in drafting rules. So as far as like getting the capacity for the fellow itself, we would probably best work with the law school as far as recruitment goes, but that, needs to be a demand for the position itself as well.
Okay, what is your folks' plan in the meantime, though? Because I can only imagine statewide what other projects are being held up by not having this as a next step, so we can keep moving in the process.
I think you're referring to the amendments to our Hawaii administrative rules. We do not have any staff members at this point to work on those draft rules until we get somebody from our CUH. There just doesn't seem to be people coming out of the law school that are interested in working as a legal fellow. And I think that's really where the challenges are. And so we're continuing to work with our CUH and the law school to try to get somebody to hopefully apply and go from there. Because all other legal fellows that are with other divisions are all busy working on other
Okay,
projects.
so but does it have
Okay,
to be
yeah.
a legal fellow that does the rules? Why can't you just contract a law firm then? Like, why wait?
I'm not sure about contracting with a specific law firm when it talks about writing administrative rules. We've always worked through our CUH with a
That's
legal
okay.
fellow.
Well, find other
Yeah.
options, but we can't just put everything on hold because we can't get a legal fellow.
No, absolutely. And I think the contracting option, there are some limitations on that with regard to restrictions on legal services and having to go through the AG, so we would have to seek some kind of waiver from them first in order to contract.
Because
with
how long are you gonna
services.
wait before we figure out, oh, we should try a different option?
Yeah, I can't answer that.
Okay, well, I think it's,
Yep.
we're at that end.
Understood. We'll look into it.
Okay, well,
Thank you, Sen.
as
Especially
we're
since you
looking
have
into it,
resources.
yeah, a course of action is requesting a waiver. Just so that we don't leave this on the table with no plan of action, either request a waiver from the law firm that you folks usually get candidates from, or
Yeah.
work with the AG's office. But I can't even imagine how many other projects are in the pipeline, waiting for a legal fellow with no candidates or with no prospective candidates right now. If you folks were in the process and they were being held up at DHERD, that's a whole nother thing. But being that we have nobody and time is ticking, money can lapse, so many things can happen. In my community, this is a health risk. So Megan knows what I'm talking about. She's been very good, actually. So I want to give her some thumbs up. You've been very helpful in communicating, but I think we have to get a little bit more aggressive with this approach.
Yeah.
Will
Thank you.
do. Thank you, Senator.
Just find other options to legal fellows. I can't imagine DLNR just holding on for rules for legal fellows.
No, but
Fine.
that they are a big help with.
They are,
all
but
of the
if you
divisions.
can't get one, what's our option?
In-house,
Yeah,
AGs, or outside counsel.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those are
Senator,
the three options.
Senator Hashimoto.
Moving to a different topic, kind of going back to vacancies, I guess, how are we doing with our SHIP-D vacancies?
Ooh.
I think we had a great conversation about trying to fast track those. I think we're a
Yeah.
little bit frustrated that, one of the first things that this governor did when he got into office was release those positions that the legislature put in, and we still have not filled them all. I know we're close, and we
Well-
asked you to expedite it, and so hopefully we figured out that expeditious route.
Well, some of it you reported to us on the Big Island that some of it is stuck at DHERD.
Yeah, and that position that we were concerned about has been released. It's posted right now. We're actually actively hiring for it. It's our grants manager position. Excuse me. We also have an archaeologist 5 position that we're actively hiring for, but in total, I think we have currently 17 vacancies, but only 14 of those 17 vacancies we can actually fill. 3 of them are federally funded, and we don't receive enough in our federal budget to fill them. And then in the last fiscal year, we filled 12 vacancies. So we're just down to those 17 or 14, depending on how you look at it.
So have we gotten through DHERD though?
Yeah.
14?
Yeah.
So we're at recruitment then?
Yeah,
And then did you guys decide to take it over, or are you guys still relying on DHERD?
We are currently in the process right now of the 2 that we're hiring for. We're still relying on DHERD to filter, but the remaining 12, we're looking at filtering those internally. So getting that in place to expedite those remaining, I mean, not, the remaining 12, because we have 14 total that we can fill. 2 of them we're actively interviewing for. There's 12 more that we've got to get posted this year.
And when do we think we're posting?
I'm hoping to get everything to our HR department, and then I'm going to overwhelm them. And so be very patient with them while they
Well,
post
we've
them.
asked you to overwhelm them.
Yeah, you've asked us to overwhelm them. We're planning to overwhelm them. Hopefully, if not by the end of this week, by the end of next week. We're just working on edits to position descriptions for posting to submit to
Well,
them.
I think it's a good experiment too, to see if you can handle, right? And I think
Yeah.
just not like a SHIP-D thing. It sounds like we've had this whole discussion on all these other vacancies, and although SHIP-Ds are a very big focus, I think everyone needs
Yeah,
positions.
but
right?
this one in particular is extremely important because this could really slow down construction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if the economists are telling us that construction, we're going to have to really rely on construction the next, couple years for our economy, we got to
Mhm.
make this a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have, I will say to the side, thinking creatively, I think last session a bill was passed to allow for third-party reviewers. We did attempt to use some of our vacancy savings from this last year to get at least a seed third-party reviewer contract started, but we didn't receive any bids on that contract. But we may attempt, if we have sufficient vacancy savings to try to use vacancy savings in the future to get a seed money together for a third-party reviewer contract again. We don't have currently a budget to start a contract and pay in advance. So we're either gonna have to find a contract where somehow we collect a fee that goes to the contractor and they get paid in real time, but I don't know how else we can structure that. We're thinking creatively on the different ways we can do that to kind of alleviate the intake that we're getting and to contract out some of the work.
But most important, I think the positions that we're really concerned about are the archaeologists.
Yeah.
So out of the positions we gave you, how many were our new archaeologists that joined in or are still vacant on that positions? Because those are the movers.
Yeah.
Because if they're not there, the projects all stall.
Yeah, so of the positions this last year that we filled, I think we filled 4 or 5 archaeology positions.
So they're already on board.
5 archaeology positions. We prioritized the Maui archaeologists because of all the recovery projects, and we have our Maui office is almost fully staffed. We're just missing 1 person in the burial sites program. But our 2 Maui archaeologists were numbers 1 and 2 to hire, and they're on board, and they've been on board since June. We also filled 2 Oahu archaeology positions. 1 person has been in their position for probably since June as well, I think, and the other person is starting actually next week. And then we have an interagency archaeologist position that should be starting. We don't have a drop dead start date for them, but they should be starting really soon. Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll get the start date for them.
On the Big Island, we also talked about having MOAs with the different counties so that
Yeah.
they could hire specifically what you need internally to help expedite process.
Yeah, and so if you guys, I don't know if you saw I think it was in the Star Advertiser this past week, there was an article about an MOU between us and the city and county that's relative to TOD and the Heart Rail project. And that was taking a stipulation of a programmatic agreement that we have with Heart Rail and FTA to create a expedited review process, or at least a process for considering historic and cultural resources within Chinatown and Merchant Street historic districts. And I think that MOU is out there in the world to look at as an example. That's just 2 districts associated with 1 TOD type project, but those MOUs would work somewhat similarly, where it would have the language that the county would have a qualified professional to vet which permits actually come to us. So we focus on the ones that might have an impact instead of everything.
Yeah, so the Hawaii County Mayor had mentioned that they were interested.
Yeah.
Has that moved forward or?
We haven't figured out a time to all meet yet. I think the holidays and things with the task forces that were going on from last ledge session interrupted some of our availability, but we're trying to set up meetings with him, but we're already actively meeting with City and County of Honolulu staff and Maui County staff. Maui County staff have prioritized developing an MOU, an archaeology MOU just for the Lahaina recovery area first. We already have one for architectural resources for Lahaina, but they want to finalize their archaeology MOU first before they do a county-wide one.
Okay.
Okay. If you heard earlier with DAGS, I brought up the subject about the Hilo, the archives, and thanks for your presence with DLNR for us looking for a building, and we've secured that. Where are we with, and I guess you probably heard Candace did get approved to be the new administrator for Hawaii Island. So where are we with the building?
I have to follow up with Candace in that. I'm not certain where we're at and where we need to be. I think we need to double check on what next steps are coming out of the new year.
Because I think that that building that we looked at is under land division.
Yeah.
So I guess so I think we need to expedite that. And I've been passing that building many times, and it's so sad that things are not moving.
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things that comes into play is that for that building we went to visit, it does require likely requires, there hasn't been a structural assessment done to the building yet, but there likely is some like structural repairs that need to be done. I think we initially requested some money to do that kind of an assessment, but it wasn't included in the final budget. So we've this is where I'm like, we have to revisit with everyone, like where we can pull the funding from.
So
because
there's
to-
nothing in this year's budget then to
No.
work on that particular? Yeah.
It was
so-
requested, but it has not been included.
Yeah.
You did request it earlier, you're
Yes.
saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's too bad because it's, we've seen the old building and what the alternatives had to do, with storing your records, historical records in, I guess,
Shipping containers.
the shipping containers. And, your records and those historical records are so important. Anyway.
Last thing. So you're okay with, we figured out all your positions, your exempt status of your positions then?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that should be good moving forward.
Yes. Yep.
We're
I mean,
good.
we have exempt positions. We have asked to retain our exempt positions, the ability to retain our exempt positions. And I believe one of the proposed bills coming out of DLNR this session is to ask that we, as well as I believe CWRM, are able to maintain exempt
So
positions.
you still need that bill? though?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That's one of our several legislative proposals coming through.
Got it.
Yeah. Senator
Just a
Elafante.
quick question, not on this subject, unless anyone else has on this, but did you folks hire a Oahu Parks superintendent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then do you have a master plan that you're working on? Because I know from one of the WAM site visits, that question did come up. An overall master plan for all your parks. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? But Senator DeQuaid.
Oh, sorry, Chair, was late on delay of flight. I just got a question on where are we with the transfer of the Act 90 line?
Oh,
lands?
he said that they transferred 5.
Yeah, we've completed those transfers last. I think we had board action several months ago, and so the 5 remaining leases, they were transferred over. Board approved the transfer. That was about 13,000 acres.
And then I think it's due for another 5 year before end of year.
I'm not sure. I have to.
I think that was based on the agreement we made in the conference committee on the green fee bill.
I think
The-
that was
the top 10.
The 5. Yeah,
Those should be 10, supposed to be 10.
supposed to be 10.
Yeah, top
Okay.
10 that was lined up. No, if you can get back to us on when those other 5 would be transferred, please. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, adjourn.
And